Hello and welcome. This is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
Yeah. Can't tell if Clancy's in the other tunnel over there. Don't know. Yeah, it sucks when you put out a really good video like the one earlier today and that one died too, right out of the gate. 2,000 views. Yay! It's just it's incredible. It was actually really interesting. If you guys could do a favor and share the videos that I put out, it might help out a little bit. That's how it gets moving along, especially at the like button. There isn't even the likes are 300, that makes a difference. But anyways, there's new documents that came out today. Knew I'd cover what? The new documents? Yeah, of course. Well, thanks, Sandy. I'm glad you watched my show. This one earlier was interesting. Yeah. Well, how come nobody's watching it? So if you guys could go out and share the videos, I would appreciate it. Hey, guys, have you seen this? Right. I know. Everybody liked it. Unfortunately, it's, Let's see, what are we at on the video? Here's the video right here. Let's see where we're at. So it's got 3,000 total views, got 7 subscribers, etc. But that's about a quarter of what a normal video would get. And see how it's even trending below the line up there. It's lower. And, it's just frustrating. No, I can't. Sorry. You'll have to do it after the show's over. Okay. After the show's over, there'll be CC. If you do CC on a live stream, you're about 45 seconds behind everybody. And I don't want to do that. So, when it's over, you can go back and watch it, and you'll have CC on the screen. I think there's actually programs people can use. I have it set up to put it on there later, but it's just not live. Thanks, Donna. And look at that. I love tacos. Gifted 5. Wow, how cool is that? And True Crime Snoopy that wanted CC got one. And then EB Clonin. Jessica Langley and Tinker Tot. Should be another one coming up here. And Lady of Cali. So next we get a lot of the same people get the free ones every month. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. I also think though, if we as a community would share my videos all over the place, I think it could sort of overcome YouTube's challenges. I don't know, man. I don't know. But what did you get? I think today's video, people had mentioned Danny Rawling before, So today it was mentioned in one of these old news clips regarding the case, as I showed on the video. That was back in 2022 when Eric Shawn said, hey, it kind of reminds me of Danny Rolling. And the other guy was like, yeah, but I think it's, and then, so the Fox News guy was actually correct in his guess. And then I thought, well, let me go look at him. And I was just kind of like stunned at all of the things. I mean, they're not absolutely the same, but I think Kohberger, because he was studying serial killers, with a teacher that was an expert in serial killers, he probably sort of grabbed a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I mean, don't you think it's weird that Rollings had a K-bar knife sheath, wore all black, and a black ski mask? I mean, that is just a little too much, right? I mean, a K-bar knife, black outfit, and then he's also stalking the houses and then sliding through the sliding glass doors. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. So one of these nights, what we'll do is we'll do the whole Danny Rolling, newspapers.com. I'll go through it. And by the way, right before he was executed, he signed a letter and confessed to 3 other murders that were unsolved, but they suspected him of it. Like a family that was getting ready to eat dinner. So we'll do that too. Put that in there. Welcome, Curly Lock Diva. Yeah, it'll just be like we go through, like we used to always do, go through the newspapers, read how, each homicide as it was happening, and then they sort of started putting them together pretty quick because they were all between August 24th and the 27th. So it was just all in the same time frame. The other 3 were the year before. Let's see. So Kohberger isn't even original. Well, I mean, here's the weird part. Is like, okay, so he goes from Pennsylvania to Washington, which is exactly what Ted Bundy did. So it's almost like, okay, let me do that. And then he also attacked sorority girls. But hey, yeah, so we'll combine that, and I'll do what Rolling did when he enters the house. And it was interesting how he even buried his knife and everything in the dirt somewhere. And then you think, well, God, is that what he did? Kohberger? That's why it was the 16 minutes of missing time that I identified, and I alone, at the beginning of the case. Now everybody says it, but they didn't know that. They didn't even, come up with it. Of course, you never get the credit for it later down the line. It's always just, oh, it's all known. Everybody knows this. Yeah, he looks like he doesn't look like a serial killer. He looks just sort of like, I mean, I don't even know. He's in the same category as, someone like Dennis Rader, just sort of, just kind of a normal guy. Yeah, he isn't really a famous serial killer, which is strange. Like, you don't hear of Danny Rolling all the time. It's not like he's not one of the, ones that everybody mentions, but he should be. He's like a mix between Ted Bundy, Ed Kemper. I mean, just a sick person. And this guy was, had necrophilia, cut off the head of one of the victims. And so I think in the first one that was on there, he goes in and he does what he does, sneaks through the sliding glass door. Then he thinks he left his wallet there, so he goes back, and then he goes inside the house, and then he moves her around, poses her body, then takes her head off, puts it up in the... It's crazy, man. This guy's, Thanks, Cheryl. Right. So after the show's over, if you guys can go out and share that video, that'd be great. I think that one needs to be seen by more people. And even that first part was sort of interesting, right? With the guys walking around. It seemed like that they were really thinking exactly what we've always thought. Like right up there, right in that little parking spot, Like basically right here. You know, that's where they were standing and talking, right there. And it looked like it was a real simple walk down there. Then they went back over there and down, so that sort of opens the door that maybe the vehicle was parked over there. Pretty crazy. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go through these court documents today, but I'm going to use ChatGPT to summarize it. And then the parts that we think are interesting, we'll go look at it in the document itself, right? Because as you know, ChatGPT does a great job, and I got that voice back. I don't think I'll use bro mode on it, but let's see, summarize, PDF file, court documents in the Brian Kohberger case. Alright, so I'm going to put this one in there. I don't know if there's a particular order. Maybe we'll just do this one first. They're pretty
Here's
long.
a comprehensive summary of the key court documents in development.
That's not... Hold on a second. Summarize PDF files that I am going to upload to you. The heck?
Absolutely. Go ahead and upload the PDF files you'd like me to summarize.
Why is there like
Once they're
YouTubers on
uploaded,
here?
I'll review and break
That's
them down
crazy.
in as much detail as you need.
Let's see.
Here is a comprehensive summary of the April 18, 2025 court document titled Order Memorializing Oral Rulings on Motions in Limine in the Brian Kohberger Case. Purpose of document: to memorialize oral rulings made on April 9, 2025, regarding several motions in limine filed by both the defense and prosecution. These rulings determine what evidence and arguments will be permitted at trial. Key rulings by the court: denied motions not granted. Inflammatory evidence, defense first. Ruling denied as premature and vague. Reason: defense failed to identify specific items. State must still give defendant advance notice before showing graphic material. Use of term murder, defense third. Ruling denied. Reason: prosecution agrees not to refer to Kohberger as the murderer except when stating charges. Death penalty language, state motion. Ruling denied. Reason: defense agrees to follow jury instruction language. Exclusion of Amazon and graduate paper, defense eighth. Ruling denied. Reason: these items are not bad acts under 404B and are admissible as non-character evidence. Inconclusive DNA from victim's fingernails, defense fifth. Ruling denied as moot. Reason: state agreed not to use it as inculpatory. Exclude Amazon click history, defense ninth. Ruling denied. Reason: highly relevant to the Kabar knife.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to be denied. That's just too obvious that he was looking at K-bar knives, etc. Hold on.
Exclude Amazon click history, defense ninth. Ruling denied. Reason: highly relevant to the Kabar knife. Defense may cross-examine and provide expert rebuttal. Alibi evidence limitation, state motion. Ruling denied. Reason: too early to exclude. No full alibi has been disclosed, but court allows potential for future alibi development. Exclude timing advance TA records comments, state motion. Ruling partially granted. Defense can question a TANT agent privately about TA records, but cannot bring it up to jury without foundation.
Okay. And then looks like some of these are granted here.
Granted motions fully or partially approved. Psychopath, sociopath language, defense fourth. Ruling granted. Reason: not relevant and highly prejudicial unless defense opens the door. Exclude IgG investigative genetic genealogy evidence, both. Ruling granted. Reason: both parties agree not to use it. Source of tip must be described in neutral terms. Autism as aggravator, defense 13th. Ruling partially granted. Reason: state can't use ASD as an aggravator but may rebut if defense raises it as a mitigating factor. Statistical likelihood ratios, defense 14th. Ruling granted. Reason: court prohibits population comparison analogies like the octillion to one example used at grand jury. Demonstrative 3D house model state motion. Ruling granted. Reason allowed if proper foundation is laid. Not considered real evidence. Used only as a visual aid during trial. Traffic stop video under 404B state motion. Ruling granted with redaction. Reason admissible for identification purposes. Name, phone, vehicle. The part where Kohberger asks, "Why do you need my number?" must be redacted. Reserved rulings decision delayed. Alternative perpetrator evidence state motion. Deadline defense must submit offers of proof by May 14, 2025. Ruling reserved pending submissions. Self-authentication of record state motion. Ruling reserved until proper notices under IR 90211 are filed and objections discussed. Legal standards applied. The court relied on Idaho Rules of Evidence IR particularly. IR 401 relevance. IR 403 exclusion for unfair prejudice. IR 404B character evidence bad acts. IR 702 expert witness standards. IR 90211 self-authenticating documents. ICSS 19-519 and ICR 12.1 alibi disclosure requirements. Notable judicial reasoning. Amazon click history. It will be up to the jury to consider all the evidence and decide whether defendant was the clicker. 3D model of house. Accuracy is not the standard. It need only avoid being deceptive. Traffic stop footage. Highly probative to identity, not unfairly prejudicial. Alibi. Partial alibi is no alibi at all. On IGG, agree on a mutually acceptable narrative for the jury. Jurors should not speculate about the source of the tip.
All right, so I think on that one, we should check out the Amazon part, right? Like right here. A defendant moves in limine to exclude evidence that has not already been noticed by the state, which that hasn't been noticed by the state. What are you telling them? If there's something out there that they haven't noticed yet, so hurry up. Is only defendant's pre-homicide traffic stop. Let's see. Evidence has not already been noticed by the state, which at this point is only defendant pre-homicide traffic stop. By way of example of allegedly unnoticed evidence, defendant notes that the state intends to present evidence of defendant's graduate paper regarding how to conduct a crime scene investigation and his Amazon purchase records, both of which defendant contends are subject to IRE 404B. Hey, thank you, Vicky White, Alley Cake, and True Crime Snoopy. As an initial matter, defendant appears to misapprehend this. Misapprehend. That seems kind of. The rule provides that that evidence of a crime, wrong, or other act is not admissible to prove a person's character in order to show that on a particular occasion the person acted in accordance with the character. I want to go down here. Defendant Amazon purchases and his graduate paper discussing proper crime scene investigation techniques do not standing alone. You mean stand alone. I think sometimes it's just their writing. It's like techniques do not stand alone, bear on the character, or suggest he has a propensity to commit crimes, including those charged. I want to go down to the defendant's Amazon purchases. Okay, the click data. Defendant moves to exclude any evidence of defendant's Amazon purchase history or click activity on grounds that it is out of context, incomplete, and unfairly prejudicial. I mean, I thought that was the stupidest argument I've ever heard in my life. This evidence will be presented by the state through, but what she's really admitting is that it makes them look really bad. That's why you're saying it's prejudicial. She wouldn't even have brought it up if it didn't. This evidence will be presented by the state through Shane Cox and Michael Douglas, who will testify simply to what the documentary evidence state, all of which was provided to defendant in discovery. The evidence is highly relevant. A K-bar knife sheath was found lying next to the body, I'll just say it, of Madison Mogan. all of whom were, and it says one of the victims, and it's all of whom were stabbed to death. Defendant's DNA was found on the knife sheath. Records from an Amazon account registered to defendant's name and email show that a purchase of a K-bar knife and sheath was made from the account approximately 8 months prior to the homicides. Click activity on the same account shows the customer also viewed pages associated with K-bar style knives at the time, and in the week following the purchase, viewed pages associated with the shipping progress of the knife and sheath. The product was shipped to Brian Kohberger at his family address in Pennsylvania. I mean, my God. See, that's new right there, right? Like it was actually, it wasn't just sort of like shipped to the house, and it was shipped to Brian Kohberger at his father's house. Or, his house, his family home. After the homicides, activity from the same account showed the user navigated pages related to deletion of account activity, and a week later viewed pages associated with a K-bar knife and sheath. This evidence establishes a significant connection between defendant and a K-bar knife and sheath, and it also shows that he was trying to hide the fact that he purchased it. Come on, you guys. Come on, is there any pro-burgers out there that are starting to see the light a little bit? Or do you just keep putting your head in the sand and just pretending, man? Because you guys... Cuckoo. All right, you guys know on these live streams, my channel is survives and is supported by the freaks watching the show on the live streams. There is no ad revenue. Look at that. CrimeZilla just did 5 memberships. So if you guys are out there and you have the ability to support my channel, I would really appreciate it. It's how we make things happen. And you'll see if you show up at the end of the month on donation night, where last month this channel, out of the income from ad revenue, the super chats, the channel memberships, etc., I gave away $5,000 out of the income from the channel. And I'd like to, one year we averaged more than that. It was like, that was a crazy year. It was, I think 1 month I was able to do like $10,000. It was some crazy month where we just, I mean, I don't even know what was going on. I think it was 2 huge cases. I think it was this one and Kylie Rodney were on around the same time frame, and it was just like one video, everything, everybody was watching, and the channel did well. Hey, do you mind if I just go through it? Yeah, his DNA is on the sheath. Yeah, we know that. Hey, thanks, Von Dowson. And welcome to Grateful 1509, Don Crossland, Wino, Dana Bear, Uniquely, Susie Retired, Hospice RN, and Tara. Van Dawson said, crack me up when you said pro-burgers would blame the landlord in the... Yeah, exactly. It's true, though, right? Did you guys hear that on the last video? In that, the part where the landlord checked, I guarantee you, pro-burgers would look into that guy and try to figure out how he is the killer. All right. It says, in addition, there is no basis under IRE 403 to exclude the evidence, particularly given how probative it is. Defendant argues it is misleading and prejudicial because it paints an incomplete picture of the account activity. To this end, defendant provides the declaration of his expert, David Howe, the founder of a firm specializing in inter alia digital forensic and digital marketplace analytics. According to Mr. Howe, hey, look at that, Linda Howe, you got one of your relatives working on this. Amazing. I wonder if he got there on a UFO. Maybe we don't know at this point. founder of a firm specialized in inter alia digital forensics and digital marketplace analytics. According to Mr. Howe, far more information must be reviewed in order to attribute specific activity to a specific person or otherwise. Well, I know, but he got it shipped to himself. Okay? You might make the argument outside of that. Hey, thanks, Crimezilla. Subscribe and help Gray match my donation. There you go, everybody. She's trying to get you to match the donation there. Defendant is free to challenge this evidence through cross-examination and establish through Mr. Howe why more information is needed to reach the conclusion that defendant made a purchase or clicks. However, it's not a basis of exclusion. There is nothing inherently unfairly prejudicial or misleading about the evidence itself. It will be up to the jury to consider all the evidence and decide whether the defendant was the clicker. Thus, the motion is denied. The state moves... what part is this one? Timing advance records. Okay, I guess that one's sort of interesting. That's the one regarding the... this is the one that the judge got angry about and said, it's only there for 7 days, okay? The state moves in limine to prohibit the defense from making any reference to the absence of AT&T timing and advance records related to defendant's cell phone. The state contends it never received such records from AT&T in response to its subpoenas, and therefore any statements by defendant that the records could have or should have been provided to the defendant should not be allowed as it mischaracterizes the evidence, will mislead the jury, waste time, and cause undue delay. In support, the state provides certificates of authenticity, AT&T, for each of the 2 warrants stating that it did not provide timing advance records for phone number 509-592-8458. That's Kohberger's phone, because such records were at the time only available if requested within 7 days of the specified time frame. Defendant, relying largely on affidavit of its expert Cy Ray, the discredited quote expert with quotes around it, is adamant that the state did receive the documents, which he argues are exculpatory. Jeez, bullshit. And is hiding them. Defendant points out he has a constitutional right to challenge evidence against him and therefore must be allowed to explore the state's misrepresentation as to the availability of the records. Cy-Ray, he's got some secret information. The 6th and 14th Amendment guarantee a criminal defendant a meaningful opportunity to present a complete defense. This includes the right to confront and effectively cross-examine witnesses. Now let's just go down to what the judge says. Applying these principles here, defendant will be allowed to... Oh, that's right. He did say something like outside the presence of the jury, right? Voir dire special agent balance outside the presence of the jury to ask whether he received defendant timing advance records covering the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022 and the months prior, when the defendant was believed to have been in the area of 1122 King Road. However, if Agent Balance denies having received the timing advance records, defendant may not explore the matter. So it just comes down to Balance saying, I never got them. Either in voir dire or before jury, given the absolute lack of any factual basis supporting his position that the state is hiding them. Thus, the state motion is granted, except as qualified regarding the very brief voir dire outside the presence of the jury. All right. So anything else in this section you guys want to... This demonstrative thing I thought was just a joke that they even brought it up. I mean, really, you can't use a demonstrative aid to show, how somebody might have moved around? I mean, for example, why couldn't they use this at trial? Like, you go around the house with a 360-degree model, and you say, now look, here it is behind 500 Queen Road. You come down over here. There's a parking area, and hell, you could have walked everywhere with that 360-degree camera, and I think people would get a really good understanding of the area, right? I mean, when you guys watch, when we do this, is there anybody that's confused anymore after watching my channel? I know the pro-burgers come in here are absolutely dumbfounded. They just go, wait, the house is over there, you know, and just weird comments like that. But if you've been watching my channel, you know exactly where everything is, right? I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, 1112's right there, 1122's right there, 500 Queen Road's right there. Back in the background there is 1126 and 1119, where the lights flashed when the car was coming around. This is Queen Road, that's King Road, that's Taylor Avenue right out there. I mean, it's just, we've been going over the mapping and the route that the vehicle took for literally 2 years. Okay, and the route is a little different now, but it does the same road. It just goes back and forth behind there. And that wasn't something we knew until some of these recent documents. Same route and everything. Yeah, well, you should. I guess it's just not interesting to you or something. One that we cannot understand. We are learning more through. Huh? What was the problem with having the model to scale? It doesn't. You could have it at anything. He even said, the judge said, it doesn't have to be scale or anything. It's just a demonstrative aid to show various locations, etc. Here, maybe I'm going to go back to this, the ChatGPT. Since we're already in the conversation, I'm going to say, break down the, what's that section called again? Demonstrative evidence section in great, break down the demonstrative evidence section in great detail. Let's see. Hey, thanks CR for gifting the 5 membership.
Here's a deep breakdown of the demonstrative evidence section from the April 18th.
Now they're talking about the prosecution, Zozo, want to build a 3D model of the house and have it sitting there so that people can say, okay, here's where Xana was found, etc. And the defense didn't want them to be able to do that. It was so stupid. That's what this is about right here. Let's see. Yeah, so this will be good here.
2025 order in the Brian Kohberger case, specifically relating to the state's motion to use a 3D model of the 1122 King Road residence, section Demonstrative Evidence, 3D model of crime scene, motion summary. The state requested permission to use a 3D model of the King Road house as a demonstrative aid during trial testimony, not as substantive evidence. The model is not to scale, but is meant to help visualize the layout of the crime scene, support witness descriptions, and clarify movements, such as the suspect's alleged entry and exit route. Defense objections. Ann Taylor and defense team objected strongly, raising several concerns.
I bet you, Zozo, even if you don't remember, I don't remember every single thing, but I bet you know way more than most of the pro-burgers, because I can tell by the questions and comments that you make. Those guys don't have a clue. All they think about is Brent Kopaka and some, cartel. Maybe that's related somehow. It's wild.
Timing of disclosure. The model and its supporting materials were only recently disclosed in what the defense described as a massive file. Their expert, Matthew Nodell, claimed he needed 3 days to evaluate the 3D scans, 2 days to travel to inspect the physical model in person. He was unavailable until April 7, 2025, limiting his ability to thoroughly assess its accuracy before trial prep milestones. Accuracy concerns. Noted risk that the model may misrepresent dimensions, angles, or line of sight, leading to juror misinterpretation. Specific concern over elements like wall placement, door locations, and visual fields that could mislead on key issues like witness DM's line of sight. Prejudicial impact. Claimed it would bias jurors if the model implied a sequence of events that could not have reasonably occurred, especially regarding the timeline and one perpetrator theory. Court's analysis and ruling.
Stupid.
Relevance. The court found the 3D model relevant because it can aid witnesses in explaining spatial relationships, Help the jury visualize complex testimony regarding rooms, paths, and positions.
Yeah, exactly.
Clarify witness DM's account of seeing the intruder. Help the jury understand the logistics of a one-person timeline, a central challenge by the defense. The model will aid the testimony of lay witnesses and experts alike in explaining the locations of victims, witnesses, and other items of evidence, as well as understanding the suspect's potential or likely path of travel. Accuracy standard. The model does not have to be precise or to scale. Instead, it must simply not be deceptive. Minor inaccuracies are acceptable as long as they don't mislead the jury. Case law supports use of demonstrative evidence that is fairly representative, even if not perfectly accurate or to scale. Accuracy is not the standard governing relevancy of illustrative evidence. Defense access. Despite defense objections, the court stated the defense has adequate time trial.
Well, no, you need to be able to show on a model where people were, etc. To give them an idea of what's going on. Of course, you need, like for example, the Pharaoh scan. They're going to have that. They have all these different things. They need to be able to show people. Wow, thanks, CR. Matching the donation. Hey, you beat it. You beat the donation.
Is in August 2025 to inspect the model, evaluate its integrity, challenge its accuracy through cross-examination or rebuttal experts. Limits and protections. The model will not go back with the jury for deliberation. It's strictly a presentation tool. The state must lay proper foundation before it can be used. Defense is permitted to introduce its own models, cross-examine regarding inaccuracies, request a limiting instruction to clarify it's not real evidence. Disclosure requirement. The state must make the model available to the defense as soon as it's complete and no later than the pretrial conference. Assuming the state can lay sufficient foundation for the model, the court will entertain a request to provide a limiting instruction to the jury that the model is not intended to be accurate and is not to be considered evidence. Key takeaways. Element courts view admissibility allowed if relevant and not deceptive accuracy standard does not need to be to scale. Just fair and non-deceptive prejudicial risk considered low due to protections and defense rebuttal options. Defense time court finds there is ample time before August to prepare jury use not to be sent with the jury. Visual aid only instruction court will allow limiting instruction if requested. Let me know if you want this transformed into courtroom style.
Well, that's pretty... I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I didn't like this part right here. Where it said... I think it was up here where the instructions would have to say something like, this isn't. I don't know. Why can't they make a model to scale? So why not make a model that's absolutely perfect? This is what I don't really get. If I had in front of me the blueprints that are really clear, I figured it out just based on using other kind of techniques, measuring, knowing the size of tiles and different things. But, it's close what I have. But why can't you get it exact? For example, you could just convert the Pharaoh scan into probably like what they call an OBJ file or something, and then print it out using a printer, but like a really large 3D printer of some sort, and then you'd have like exactly what's going on, and you'd be able to point, and that way you could say, yes, this is a good, you can use it for evidentiary purposes instead of just purely, because you could just see every time, well, look, that wall there, it doesn't really, just gonna be arguing and arguing and arguing back and forth, right? Yeah, me too. Accuracy is not the standard governing relevancy of illustrative evidence. I know that's kind of the way it is. I made a video when I got hired for that case in New York, when I did it for an elevator incident. I tried to make it look as accurate as I possibly could. It looked like the same foyer, whatever the hell the term is, and and it was good enough. It was just sort of it's interesting because that one I actually animated the lady getting onto the elevator and having her leg get trapped between and her getting sucked up all the way to the top. And it was cool because the prosecutor just started playing it and the judge goes, wow, that's pretty cool. And he just accepted it, and then they got the other attorney over and he goes, yeah, we'll agree to it. And then it just got accepted and I didn't have to testify. Apparently, I was already ready to get up there, and they were going to start asking me questions like, Well, you wanted to please your client, right? Well, sure. Well, you would make anything that they want to please them. And I go, no, I would not sacrifice accuracy just to please a client. I put what the factual evidence would be. That's how I would say it. These guys try to trick you up, and Ray is exactly the person they're talking to. Those kind of people. They'll tell you whatever they want you to say to help the client out, and I would never do that. I think I'd be embarrassed to do that. Anyways, thanks up there again to CR and gifted 5 memberships, then a cat eye, etc. And I think we had a coffee earlier, if I remember. It popped up on the screen. Sherry, all right, thank you. And if you too would like to support the channel with a coffee, here's one. What's that? Please enter the master. What the hell are you talking about? Something has popped up on the screen. I don't even know what the hell that was. But there you go. No, I don't think it's fishy or anything like that. That's just the way it's always is, Tim. They're all demonstrative aids. Like if somebody's drawing something on a screen, they just sort of rough out a floor plan and they go, okay, came around this corner. That's just the way it's always been. But I mean, I guess what I would say is, why not try to be as accurate as you could possibly be anyways? But demonstrative aids aren't for, they're just sort of to show different things. Like, okay, here's the room where Xander Kernodle and Ethan Chapin were found. Now, if you notice, if you walk out into the living room here, just take a quick right. There's this one little step that goes down, and then to the left is where Dylan Mortenson's room is. And then just outside of Dylan Mortenson's room, if you take a left, you go up the stairs right here. However, from Dylan Mortenson's room, if you walk out her door and go straight ahead, that's where the kitchen is, and that's where Kohberger had, the defendant, turned to go out through the kitchen and out the sliding glass door. Now, if you go up the stairs, as soon as you get to the top of the stairs, you go up one flight, then a landing, then up another flight of stairs, and at the very top, you take a left, and that is Kaylee Gonzalez's room. Now, when you exit Kaylee Gonzalez's room, you head straight ahead, you'll run into a bathroom. That's on the other side, but just to the right of the bathroom is another door, and that's where Dylan Mortenson and Kaylee Gonzalez were found. See, and then you'd be pointing at this little map as the 3D model as you're going through it. See, just like that. It's just sort of like, yeah, okay. And so if you, I guess where the problem would come in with a 3D model that's not accurate is if you start theorizing using the model. Hey, look at that, you guys. It's 8675309. Hey, hold on a second. I got to fix something. A right. There it is. All right, I had to make her back. She was a moderator. And there was this person that was in my list that said something totally different. I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird worded thing, so I removed it. And then I realized, wait a minute, that was probably her. Yeah, you can see in the Maddie's room, but if you go all the way around to the back of the parking lot, you can see at an angle into Kaylee's room. Now, it's just saying, hey, wait, hold on a second. We got to do all these things. Just a second. This is just for 8675309. Here we go. Hey, Allah, hey, Allah, hey, warrior. One more time. Hey, Allah, hey, Allah, warrior. And then, no, not that one. That wasn't the right. It looks the same, but this one. All right, there you go. It's Cindy's song. Cindy J. Cindy J. Cindy J. All right. Ah, there you go. Anyways, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thanks. Good to see you again. Yeah, it's pretty cool. She's got this little storefront, building it up, you know, doing all the work. Back to what she used to do. She kind of had a, you know, 4 or 5 year hiatus there with the crazy stuff going on. One of these days, I'm sure the story will be told. Yeah. That's crazy. I don't even remember what the hell we were talking about. Yeah, I guess what we were saying is, you know, like, if you start theorizing with an incorrect model, I don't like that. Like, in the Jodi Arias case, they had this drawing up on the screen, and it was incorrect. It was, you know, generally correct, but it was wrong, you know? Like, I can see the pictures of the room, and it doesn't look like that. There's a little stuff that's off. And so if you're sitting there trying to theorize using an incorrect model, I think that's where problems happen. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, look at that. Ron Pexa! There we go. That's all 8675309 stuff. The Heyama, Ron Pexa, and that song. Yeah. Man, thanks, Kami. The model does not have to be precise or to scale. Instead, it must simply not be deceptive. But here's the thing is, if it's not precise or to scale, wouldn't some impreciseness perhaps lead to deceptiveness? You know, that's the thing, right? If you're not precise, that might be deceptive. Like you might say, oh, yeah, you can, I don't know. You know, in this case, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a big deal because there isn't any, like, here's what I would say. In this case, that type of stuff isn't going to matter because there isn't anything that we're going to, you know, like theorizing to the minutia detail inside the house. I agree with details matter, but I think in this case, thanks, LK. All you're going to say is stuff like, you know, we believe that, you know, Madison and Kaylee were killed first, and then the killer came down the stairs, and perhaps they heard somebody say, hey, there's somebody here, and then they went in there, and we think he attacked Ethan, and this is the area here. There isn't like this angle thing that's going to make a difference, you know? I guess, you know, like even Dylan Mortensen's room, that's the only time where something like that matters. When she opens her door, is it possible to see Kohberger? And the answer is yes. It's absolutely obvious. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, in this case, there isn't going to be anything that's going to be discussed that needs preciseness, and it's like it's really important, if you know what I'm saying. In this case, because there's only the one. Dylan Mortensen's the only sort of known thing. The rest of them, what are you going to say? Wait, see, and you sort of make it a little too much over here, and look, see, you can see right there. That's just not going to happen. I think they're going to use it to show, okay, here's where he entered the house. This is where the Xana Kernodle's room is, and go through the whole thing like that. That was so cool to have 8675309. I don't know why. It's just like she's such a cool person, but you know, it's like getting the part of the old gang back together. Hey, Stacy even said she might be able to show up here pretty soon. How cool would that be, huh? But I guess that's why, you know, cool people could affect the. Nah, not really. I don't think it can affect the timeline. It's just such a you're just pointing at places where people were Yeah, I don't know if it would affect the... She's doing pretty good. Yeah, she always shares my videos on Twitter, like every single time. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be cool just to see, like, Stacy. She was, like, always so nice to everybody. First live, stumbled across your channel. Love your content, dude. Hey, very cool. Noodle LH. Have you been following this case for a while? I think it's so odd. See, it sort of tells you that YouTube has been screwing me over. Because I've covered the Idaho 4 case since the beginning. And I have some videos that have like 60, 70,000 views. And it's so weird that it never made it to some people's channels, you know, like they didn't see it. Yeah, they'll try to do something, but you know, if you just say, okay, what if you're using the demonstrative aid and you're just saying, here's where he entered the house, and then we think he went upstairs, he goes upstairs, and then here's where Madison Mogan's room and Kaylee were, and there's a bed right here, and they were both found on this bed, and then they'll start showing crime scene photos or whatever. And then you could go down, and then you just say, then he came downstairs, and we think he went into near Xana's room, and here's the location, and here's it just doesn't seem like it affects, like, what would you argue about in court, you know, like the defense, hey, you know, that wall, it just seems kind of, you know, I don't know, it just doesn't. My thing is just make things as accurate as possible, and then nobody cares. Like, let it stand up to scrutiny. Okay? It doesn't hurt anything to be accurate, right? Okay? So why doesn't everybody strive to be accurate instead of, like, even opening the door for somebody to trash it in any way at all? Because as soon as they go, wow, look at that. So you have that room over there twice as far away. But the thing is, the judge is going to say, unless it's something that absolutely matters in perception, he's just going to say denied, 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 denied. Because it's just, you're really just showing where things took place. It has nothing, there's no bearing on anything. I just, again, make things accurate. No, I don't think so. The defense was okay taking the house down. It was there for a long time. They have Faro scans of the entire house and from outside. That's totally documented. There's no reason it needs to be there. I mean, look how easy that thing came down, too. That thing was probably a death trap. Here, hold on a second. Alright, so anything else on that last document? Anybody, anything else? Because we can go on to the next one. There's 5 of them, and they're all pretty long. Let's see. These pictures all of the time. Right. Well, pictures is a real thing. Like, it's actually a factual representation, where a model is just you, especially, I think in this case, a demonstrative aid, as long as you're not theorizing and a specific angle matters, then it sort of doesn't matter as much. But the FBI is the one that's creating it, so you would hope that they would make this thing as accurate as possible, and they're probably building it based off of like a Faro scan. or LiDAR, or whatever the hell that thing is they use. Alright, so let's do the next one. Summarize another document.
Sure thing. Go ahead and upload the next PDF document you'd like me to summarize. Once it's uploaded, I'll break it down for you in full detail.
Stacy, it's a moderator. She hasn't been able to come here.
Here's a detailed breakdown of the court's April 18th, 2025 order titled Order on Defendant's Motion in Lim RE, Make and Model of Suspect Vehicle. Ada County Case Number Key, January 24th, 31665. State of Idaho versus Brian C. Kohberger. Motion summary. Brian Kohberger's defense team filed a motion to exclude any testimony or statements by the prosecution that the vehicles captured in various surveillance videos near the King Road crime scene are the same vehicle referred to as Suspect Vehicle 1, and that the vehicle is a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. Defense argument. Claims these are speculative assertions, lacking continuous video proof. Argues this
Hey, thanks, Naomi Rollins.
Improperly invades the jury's role and is prejudicial under IR 403. Wants the court to prohibit such identification unless it's supported by expert testimony. Facts and surveillance video timeline. Law enforcement gathered video footage from 6 separate locations within 0.6 miles of the 1122 King Road residence. A key video from 1125 Ridge Road at 4:01 a.m. shows a white sedan. Another video from 1112 King Road at 4:04 a.m. shows a white sedan arriving and later fleeing at 4:20 a.m. Investigators say the vehicle made 3 passes before arriving at the scene. Investigators mapped the route and believe these sightings represent the same vehicle, Suspect Vehicle 1. Court's legal analysis. Expert opinion is allowed. The state may elicit expert opinion from trained law enforcement that the vehicles shown across various videos are the same. The vehicle is consistent with a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. The court finds that the state may present expert opinion that the vehicles depicted in the videos are the same vehicle as Suspect Vehicle 1, as well as the make and model thereof. Not speculative. The opinion is not speculative because it is based on training, experience, and multiple data points including timestamps, direction of travel, vehicle class characteristics. The inference that the Ridge Road vehicle at 4:01 a.m. is the same as the one seen at 4:04 a.m. on King Road is logical and reasonable. It is reasonable to infer, notwithstanding the lack of continuous footage, that it continued traveling along Ridge Road until it reached King Road.
Yes, this is what I always tell people. You don't have to have every single house picking up the car to be able to infer that it's the car coming around. Now, in some cases, it's like an 1/8 of a mile away or whatever, but who cares? Okay? The timing is perfect, and then the vehicle drives by again. Now, there's some, like I pointed out, when the car heads south twice in a row on Willanta Drive without going north again, and it could not have within a minute. I don't know if one of those cars is a different vehicle, because how did it go north to get back to be able to go south again? So it went south twice in a row, but it didn't go north. So those are the things I would try to figure out, but maybe one of them is just a different vehicle. Because there are other vehicles from time to time driving around. However, the white Elantra is tracked because you see it going north on Willanta Drive, and then it comes around, the lights and everything, and it comes onto King Road and then takes a left onto Queen Road.
Jury's role remains intact. The jury retains the ultimate role in deciding whether Kohberger drove that vehicle, whether that vehicle was involved in the crime. Such opinion testimony would not usurp the jury's role as fact finder. IR 403 Prejudice versus Probative Value. The court rejected the defense's 403 claim that the evidence was unfairly prejudicial, found the probative value is substantial and not outweighed by prejudice. Final ruling. Motion denied. The prosecution can present expert testimony asserting the vehicle in the videos is the same across scenes. The suspect vehicle matches the make and model of a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. Jury will ultimately determine the credibility and weight of that evidence. Key takeaways. Issue courts finding vehicle identity across footage state may present expert opinion linking them make model identification allowed based on video analysis and training speculation argument rejected. The opinion is supported by evidence jury's role. Jury decides if Kohberger drove the vehicle prejudicial impact not unfairly prejudicial under IR 403. Let me know if you want this turned into a courtroom-style brief. YouTube talking points, or paired with a visual mapping of the surveillance camera locations and vehicle path.
All right. Well, I guess this is one I kind of want to look more at. This is kind of like, I think the Elantra movements is one of the key, like, other than the DNA, it's one of the main elements of the case, and that's why it's really important. That's standard. He argues that these speculative conclusions that invade the province of the jury analysis, based on the lack of continuous footage showing the vehicle captured in the various surveillance video traveling to the crime scene at 4:04 a.m., defendant argues it would be improper for the state to identify those vehicles as suspect vehicle 1 or otherwise identify suspect vehicle 1 as a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. He argues any such testimony is speculative and therefore not relevant, unfairly prejudicial, and invades the province of the jury. The state responds that the testimony is based on logical, educated inferences. See, that's what I'm trying to do here. It's just really obvious stuff, you know. Drawn by law enforcement from the surveillance videos. It adds that the testimony does not invade the province of the jury and is highly relevant to determine whether the vehicle captured at 4:04 a.m. on the 1112 King Road camera was the defendant's vehicle. To the extent defendant is attempting to prohibit the state from arguing or asserting as fact that the vehicle are the same or that the suspect vehicle 1 is a 2014 and 2016 Hyundai Elantra. Well, the thing is that they drove by at 3:28 the A&W, and in the probable cause document they say that it appears it's missing its front license plate. And then later at 4:01 it's conclusively shown to be missing its front license plate, and that vehicle is again another white Elantra, and therefore I think it's just so clear that you can say that the white Elantra seen at 3:28 is the same one at 4:01. Okay, two white Elantras driving around in the same area, between 3:30 and 4:01, missing a front license plate. And you're required to have a front license plate in Moscow, Idaho. He didn't have one because he came from Pennsylvania. So the odds of that are just astronomically poor, that there's two white Elantras missing a front license plate driving around after 3:30. Let's see. An opinion is speculative when it theorizes about a matter to which evidence is not sufficient for certain knowledge and suggests only possibilities. Yeah, and I think, when you bring up the prosecution is going to have their expert up there, and they're going to be able to say, yes, based on this, we believe it came over here, came down here, and look at the same, see how it has the same profile, and it comes around, drives back here, and, we believe this is the same vehicle, and here's why. And then the defense can bring up their witness and say, in their case later, they can come back and have their own expert say, yeah, it's not the same one, it's not the same one. Bring up some of those Kohbergers up there. They got all kinds of ideas of what that vehicle is. Hell, it's a Volkswagen Bug to half of them. I never said that, Gray. Let's see. Such opinion testimony would not usurp the jury's role as fact finder. The jury is tasked with determining whether defendant committed the alleged crimes. The state asserts that the perpetrator drove suspect vehicle 1, and based on the totality of evidence that it was defendant's Hyundai Elantra. The investigators' observations and inferences about the route of travel of the vehicle, its make and model, whether the Ridge Road footage from 4:01 a.m. and the King Road footage at 4:04 a.m. depict the same vehicle and whether the depictions were all the perpetrator's vehicle are relevant to this determination. The jury is free to weigh this evidence and the investigator's testimony against that offered by a defendant and decide for itself that the surveillance video depicts, or what the surveillance video depicts, and whether it supports its ultimate conclusion bearing on defendant's guilt. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If you just have the white Elantra and they agree that that is a white 2015 Elantra, and then his DNA is found on a knife sheath that matches the exact type of K-bar knife sheath and knife that he purchased on Amazon 8 months earlier, and it appears that he was trying to delete that record. Yeah, I mean, it just starts getting overwhelming. You know what's funny, though? You talk to these clowns out there, and they'll tell you, there's no evidence against Kohberger. There's nothing. Don't you guys find just that to be one of the most ludicrous things you've ever heard? When they say there's no evidence against Brian Kohberger. And put a 1 if you've seen that typed. And put a 1 if you've seen that type over 20 times. I mean, I've seen that so many times. You know, there isn't any evidence this is Kohberger. Ooh. Oh my God. It's like trying to keep an MS-13 member in our country. I mean, it's just ludicrous. Let's see. Jenny sent me something. I wasn't going to read it, but she said, hey, you can share that. She said she heard what she was just leaving. She heard me say, Ron Pixa, as I was headed out. She said, love you a lot. I'm so grateful for you and your friends and the friends and comfort, support, encouragement from you, especially over these just awful years. I can honestly say that you checking in with me and the community you created, just the kindness. Oh, that's so cool. Let's see, kindness and support, it kept me alive. Seriously, it was life-saving at times for me. Anyone who wants to say you're such a heartless person, you go ahead and forward them the text because they're wrong about you. That makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel emotional. That was pretty nice. Yeah, she's gone through absolute hell over the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, just incredible. And, you know, because of her, she was able to, you know, she can tell the story at some point, but she absolutely kicked ass out there. Yeah, that's right, Zozo. The real killer's in the tunnel. Yes, everybody, there's a cave underneath 1122 King Road. Just go ahead and check those maps laid out by the city years earlier. Oh, yes, it comes right out underneath the refrigerator. You just open it up and it pop out. And Kohberger was aware of that and went down into a tunnel. Hey, thank you, Joel Burnt. Appreciate it. All right, so I think based on defendant, emotionally, make, model, we already did that one. I'm going to do the next one now. So basically, that one just says state can do what they want. They've got experts that believe that that is the white Elantra. It's up to you, defense, to have a counter argument. I mean, that's really the takeaway from that. Okay, where is it? I'm going to, let's see, summarize another one.
Sure. Please upload the next PDF you'd like summarized, and I'll break it down in full detail for you. Ready when you are.
All right, here we go.
Here is a detailed breakdown of the April 18, 2025 court order titled Order on Defendant's Motion in Limine Re, Rylene Nowlin and Touch and Contact DNA. Ada County, case number card January 24, 316065, State of Idaho versus Brian C. Kohberger. Motion summary. Brian Kohberger's defense sought to exclude testimony from forensic expert Rylene Nowlin, Idaho State Police Lab Manager, about how DNA got onto the knife sheath. Use of terms like touch DNA, contact DNA, or trace DNA at trial. Ms. Nowlin's rebuttal testimony, claiming it was improperly disclosed. Key background. DNA found on the...
You guys hear that sound? That's like... That's part of this reader. That's the reader doing that. It's just a weird thing.
Kohberger knife sheath Q1.1 was a single-source male profile with a relatively high concentration. Nowlin was disclosed to testify Nowlin was disclosed to testify about how touch DNA is deposited, transferred. Direct versus...
See, that's a lot right there. 1.168 nanograms is a big chunk. Because Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick, they've worked with picograms, which is 1,000, I believe, 1,000 times less than a nanogram. So, I mean, they've solved, you know, after exhuming a body and getting just a tiny little, you know, picogram level stuff, they've been able to do it.
Indirect secondary DNA transfer. Why, based on concentration and profile, direct transfer is more likely. Court's rulings. 1. Nowlin's testimony is admissible. Expertise validated. Defense argued Nowlin lacked training in DNA TPPR, transfer, persistence, prevalence, recovery, citing. 2019 International Forensic Article. Van Oorschot et al. 2024 U.S. Expert Working Group EWG report recommending analysts not opine on transfer mechanism. The court rejected this argument. Idaho courts use IR 702, not Daubert. No scientific consensus required. Nowlin has 20 years experience, a molecular biology fellowship, teaches DNA forensics, and is certified by the American Board of Criminalistics. Court cited federal and military case law allowing general DNA experts to opine on transfer likelihood. Differences in expertise bear chiefly on the weight to be assigned to the testimony, not its admissibility. Her opinion is not speculative. Nowlin disclosed that direct or...
You know what I would think is if you have a Kohberger knife sheath, the button snap is probably the first place you would check for touch DNA. And the reason is because I think that pushing that, the effort it takes to snap that really puts a lot more... I'm just using common sense. I might be totally wrong. But you would think just having to squeeze it, sometimes it's not just easily snap, right? You got to kind of, and just pressing that hard probably put extra cells, etc., of transfer touch DNA on there. That's what I would think. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that earlier. They've got this thing right here, 0.168 nanograms. If you follow this channel at all, we've had Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick on many times. And again, I was just saying a minute ago, picograms is the next step down from nanograms, and they've solved cases with that. So that means there's a lot here. And this is like a huge, I mean, a ton of DNA on that button snap.
Indirect transfer cannot be definitively determined. However, she opined that direct transfer is more likely because the DNA was single source, not a mixture. The concentration was relatively high, 0.168 nanograms mol.
Yeah, here's what I would say. Those who asked a question here, it said, if his DNA wasn't left, do you think they would have found him? I think they would have found him eventually because of all the other stuff that's out there. And I think you could still even make a case without that DNA. Because it would be harder, obviously. But, they'd already, his name was in the system for owning a white Elantra. Then it would have taken somebody to look into each person that owned a white Elantra. And then they look at him, and they could even go look up to see all those other times he was pulled over, and then maybe that would have been enough for a warrant to check cell tower stuff, and then they would have seen that he was there all those different times. And, then, depending on how it went in the case you're making to the judge, then you'd be able to get these other warrants out there. And now you've got the Amazon purchase of I guess if the knife sheath wasn't there, you wouldn't have known that the K-bar knife sheath was used, because he also left that. So, it does make it a lot harder, but I think, I remember even at the beginning, and then they'd know that the white Elantra, he owned the white Elantra, and then they'd see that it was missing a front license plate because he's from Pennsylvania, and they'd see it, and they'd know that the white Elantra parked outside the house from 410, 408 is when the car probably parked, and then it was leaving at a high rate of speed at 420. So that's enough to say, wow, okay, so this Kohberger guy, he was outside the house sitting there for 20 minutes when all these students, they got killed. It was killed by a large knife, and then maybe you could say, well, he purchased a K-bar knife sheath, but, you can make the case that he was there based on, his phone being turned off, sort of the nefariousness of that, turning off the phone. Then there's this white Elantra missing a front license plate this exact same year of his driving by the residence. And then you'd have to put together all the other pieces. But yeah, it makes it a little harder because it's his DNA inside the house. There's mixtures of DNA all over the place too. But his was a single source. Now, I don't know if on the knife sheath there were other sources of DNA, but that was the only single source. For example, on the knife sheath, if it had blood on it, and there was a mixture of blood, would it have, would it, I don't know, like if there was a mixture of blood on the knife sheath, are they still just referring to this is the only spot they found a single source? And then if there's blood all over the knife sheath, then I think that would make my theory of it possibly being like a calling card less likely if there was blood all over it, because that would mean now there's a big problem with it. Although, I guess in some ways if he felt like he'd cleaned it, even if it got blood on it, wouldn't be his, Yeah, they would have had to find, it wouldn't have been like a needle in a haystack, because there's only a certain number of white Elantras in that area. And I think once they got a picture, you would still have Dylan Mortensen seeing a bushy eyebrowed person, and then bushy, the Kohberger has that. But yeah, I mean, putting him in the house, that's why the DNA sample is crucial, because it puts him inside the residence. That's where that comes from. Let's see. Okay, so her opinion is, where are we at here? Oh yeah, we were still playing this.
The court compared this reasoning to similar accepted expert testimony in federal and state cases, e.g. Perez Glass. She states that while it is possible the DNA was from secondary transfer, it is more likely direct. 2. Terms touch, contact, or trace DNA not banned, but cautioned. Courts compromise. The terms will not be banned, but parties must avoid them where possible to prevent jury confusion. If the terms are used, a jury...
Yeah, I hate that when they say, well, it's possible it was transferred. I mean, what's the likelihood, you guys, that some other killer touched Kohberger and then transferred it to a K-bar knife sheath that matches one that he bought, Kohberger bought, months before. And then it just so happened that this guy, too, drove a white Elantra missing a front license plate between 2014 and 2016. Yeah, so just the fact that they can say, well, you know, it's more likely. Bull crap. It's way more than more likely.
The instruction should clarify that. Touch DNA is not proof of physical touching. It is simply a category label in forensic science. Defense concerns argued the term touch DNA is misleading, implies defendant physically handled the knife sheath. Even Nowlin acknowledged in affidavit that trace DNA is misleading because the detected amount was not trace. Too great a risk that a witness or counsel will inadvertently refer to the term, potentially giving rise to a motion for mistrial. 3. Rebuttal testimony is proper. Defense claimed Nowlin's rebuttal didn't respond to anything from the defense. The court disagreed. Why its rebuttal? Defense expert Dr. Ruth Ballard suggested the DNA could have been innocently deposited or transferred indirectly before the sheath ever reached the crime scene. Nowlin's rebuttal testimony explains why indirect transfer is less likely, discusses variables like DNA quantity, persistence, shedder status, nature of surface, etc. Her opinions will not be excluded. Final ruling. Motion outcome exclude Nowlin's testimony on transfer denied ban terms like touch DNA or trace DNA denied. But parties must limit usage strike rebuttal testimony denied. Overall ruling motion is granted in part, denied in part. Key takeaways for trial. Topic court's position Nowlin's qualifications qualified under IR 702 scientific certainty required? No. More likely is acceptable touch DNA term usage use cautiously. Prepared jury instruction transfer mechanism opinion allowed. Goes to weight, not admissibility rebuttal scope properly responsive to defense theory. Let me know if you want this turned into a visual explainer, narrated video script, or courtroom debate breakdown.
Yeah, so their defense wanted Nolan's testimony, not allowed, to exclude his testimony, or her, I'm not sure. Then it says denied. And then it says ban terms like touch DNA or trace DNA denied, but party must limit usage. Strike rebuttal testimony denied. So maybe that was from the prosecution that wanted to strike rebuttal testimony. I don't know. What do you guys think about that one? Let's see. So I'll tell you what, if we get, let's see, what are we at here? If we get 5 more memberships, I'll donate 5 memberships myself. So we've already got 17 of them. That'll count as 1. There's Alley Cake, we'll count that as 1. And then I'll donate 5, and then we'll have 27 new channel members. Hopefully they stay around. And this is where you're going to want to be to watch the trial, I can tell you that, because we've got the demonstrative aids right here, okay? I mean, don't you guys even feel like this is really valuable, this thing right here? Feel bad for my kid there. He's that's my, it's my wife's biological kid. We've taken care of, I consider them my kids, but if you're wondering why he doesn't look quite like me, we both do have dark hair. All right, nice picture there. But anyways, look at right there. You can see coming back behind 500 Queen Road, and I do the whole thing where I walk around. I mean, look at this. Look how just really valuable this is to just be able to show people. Yeah, look, this is what it does when the car drove around and it came back here. And then moves its way around, and every location I can look around, see, like look everywhere, and we'll be able to just always explain everything. I've got the 3D model of the house. It's just a demonstrative aid as well. I'm sure it's off by a foot here and 6 inches there because I just know the dimensions of the outside of the house. I used Google Earth even and measured stuff to get specific foot. And then there was actually a little diagram that was out there. It had some of the floor on it, etc. Let's see. Definitely gray. Yeah, maybe we can ask it more about that. Tell me more about the rebuttal testimony strike. Hey, thanks, Naomi Rollins.
Absolutely.
Another one.
Let's dive deeper into the defense's attempt to strike Riley Nowlin's rebuttal testimony and why the court denied that part of the motion. Defense argument: rebuttal testimony should be stricken. The defense claimed that Ms. Nowlin's rebuttal testimony was not proper rebuttal because it didn't directly respond to anything their experts said. It was more like additional direct examination, disguised as rebuttal. Should be excluded because it didn't explain, repel, counteract, or disprove the defense's expert testimony. Context: what the defense expert said. Dr. Ruth Ballard, Dr. Ballard, Kohberger's DNA expert, acknowledged Kohberger's DNA was found on the knife sheath item 1.1, but she suggested it could have arrived there through indirect secondary transfer, e.g. via someone else who handled it, as innocuous shed skin cells from prior handling, in a protected location, allowing the DNA to persist for a long time before the crime even occurred. Dr. Ballard's core message: Kohberger's DNA being on the sheath doesn't mean he brought it to the crime scene. What Riley Nowlin plans to say in rebuttal. In direct rebuttal, Ms. Nowlin plans to address primary versus secondary.
So they're talking about when the defense puts on their case, they don't want Nolan to be able to rebut.
DNA transfer. Explain the scientific variables affecting DNA transfer and persistence. DNA source: skin cells versus bodily fluid, surface type, length and nature of contact, environmental factors. Biological factors: shedder status, hygiene. Conclude that, given the single source profile and relatively high concentration, 0.168 nanograms mol, the DNA is more likely to have been deposited through direct transfer. Court's ruling: rebuttal is proper and relevant. Judge Hippler ruled that Nowlin's rebuttal is allowed, stating, she will discuss the process of primary and secondary transfer, the variables affecting transfer and persistence, and why she is of the opinion that the DNA on the knife sheath was more likely the result of a direct transfer. Legal standard applied. Rebuttal evidence is evidence that explains, repels, counteracts, or disproves evidence introduced by the adversary.
Yeah, okay. In this case, the circumstantial evidence helps why it's more likely it's touch DNA, right? I mean, you have the white Elantra missing his front license plate. Kohberger's phone was turned off right during the time of the murders. You have the white Elantra doing loops around the house that parks at 4:08 and drives away at 4:20. And during that 12-minute time frame where a white Elantra missing its front license plate, which is highly, highly likely to be Brian Kohberger's vehicle, it would make sense that the knife sheath left at a crime scene where the individuals were all killed by a fixed blade knife because they found the knife sheath there. That's what they determined. And then Brian Kohberger's DNA is on it. So it seems incredibly, like, it's unreasonable to not believe that Kohberger handled that knife sheath and he left it there. That's just the truth. Okay? You can sit there and say, it isn't gray, it's just touched. Think through it, for God's sakes. You pro-burgers out there, use your brain for 2 seconds and think through it. Now, you might think this sounds condescending or whatever the hell you want to call it, but I'm just telling you the truth. I don't know how else to sound, you guys. Gray, you're a narcissist. Well, you know what? I'll take being a narcissist if that's what you think I am. I'm just trying to tell you the facts. A lot of people confuse being confident with that term, and it's an overused term. You're a narcissist, Gray. Yeah, well, listen, if you have confidence, you're a narcissist. That means because you are certain of something and because you don't allow somebody else to try to persuade something with something that's not, other people with something that's not accurate, they call you that. It's really pretty ridiculous, almost embarrassing. No, there isn't too many weird things, Miss Tree. You keep saying, I keep seeing your comments over and over and over again. Yeah, I mean, for them it's not, because touch DNA means that he touched it. So for Kohberger, it's not a good term, but that's the common phrase being used. Yeah. All right, you guys, we need 3 more memberships out there, and then I'll donate 5. So see if we can do that. Let's see.
Verse party. Van Brunt v. Stoddard, 136 Idaho 681. Since Dr. Ballard implied the DNA could have been innocently deposited, indirectly transferred, present long before the crime, Miss Nowlin's testimony directly addresses
Yeah, I mean, it's not a helpful characterization for Brian Kohberger, except it is touch DNA. That's what they've called it for years. So it doesn't matter. Just because he doesn't want it called that doesn't mean that's not what it is. And it's not trace DNA either. It's different.
and refutes those suggestions. Important caveat from the judge. If Dr. Ballard limits her testimony on the stand, the court can reconsider the scope of Miss Nowlin's rebuttal. So, if Ballard doesn't go as far in front of the jury as she does in her report, the judge may limit what Nowlin can say in real time. Strategic implication. The state is essentially using Nowlin to neutralize Ballard's theory of innocent or indirect DNA transfer.
Right.
Reinforce to the jury that the DNA's presence is meaningful, not incidental. The defense wanted to prevent that counterpunch, but the court found it to be a fair, responsive rebuttal, not surprise testimony or overreach.
Yeah,
Let me know if you'd like this.
Of course. That's just obvious, you know. I think it's a incredible stretch. I almost feel like it's it shouldn't be allowed to have somebody that wants to pretend that the DNA is somehow transferred there by some other person. I mean, I guess introducing the possibility of it, but it's so unlikely in this case. It's incredible. You know, just like the clown said, well, maybe Kohberger was just a peeping Tom that night, Gray. He was just a peeping Tom and he witnessed a murder. And bah! God, that's bad luck. I mean, he's sitting there witnessing a murder, and lo and behold, the guy inside was using a knife that had a sheath that somehow Kohberger's DNA got on from earlier in the day. I mean, what a incredible coincidence. So Kohberger's all the way over there in Pullman, Washington. He goes to a McDonald's. He washes his hand and he grabs the door to leave. And then, lo and behold, a killer grabbed the same door that he was just taking. He was in the other stall taking a number 2. Gets up, grabs the door handle right after Kohberger leaves. And then unbeknownst to him, when Kohberger was over there stalking that house between 3:34 or 3:33 until 4:20, he was sitting there stalking it. There was another killer shows up, and lo and behold, it was a guy sitting next to him in the toilet at McDonald's. And he goes in there and he uses a K-bar knife sheath, and he kills all the victims. And the sheath was left there, and lo and behold, the DNA that was left on the door at the McDonald's was put on that knife sheath. Man, that's bad luck. Just horrendously bad luck, you guys. And then, wouldn't you know it, that Brian Kohberger also owned another K-bar knife sheath with this, it's the exact same model and everything, and he must have lost it because he went to try to purchase it again. Wow. Man, he's unlucky. All right. You get what I'm saying? I mean, it's ludicrous, you guys. Defense shot their self. Yeah, I don't even know what you're. Then the guy from under the Delphi bridge came out. Yeah, that guy, Ron Logan. Thanks, CR. Up there. All right.
In a diagram of defense versus rebuttal points, or if you want to compare it to how other courts handle rebuttal DNA transfer testimony.
Let's see. Let me know if you'd like this as a diagram, no, or if you want to compare it to how other courts handle rebuttal. Nah, not really. All right, moving on to the next one now. Let's see. We're gonna have it summarize another document. The Geek Squad kid killed 4 people, including 6'4", 240-pound Ethan, in 12 minutes. Ethan's thighs were cut down the hamstring. Well, you don't have any idea what happened in there. Your favorite uncle, so don't type crap like that in there. You don't have any idea what happened in there. Yeah, he killed 4 drunk people in there. No, touch DNA has been used forever, you know. And the word transfer DNA has been used forever. It's been around for a long time. Flora posts, Gray, you really get into the weeds of a case. Also love the voices. Yeah, I mean, I try to, you know, when I do those little voices, the whiny voice, I'm trying to make people laugh, you know, a little bit. All right, here we go. Summarize another document. There we go.
Go ahead and upload the next document you'd like summarized. Once it's in, I'll break it down for you in full detail. Ready when you are.
Yeah, can you break it down in bro mode? I need a little bit of some kind of something a little different. All right, bro. Let's break this down. Kohberger style, bro. Here we go.
All right, bro. Let's break this down Kohberger style in full bro mode. Like you're sitting front row in court with popcorn watching a drama unfold where the star witness is like, yo, I saw bushy eyebrows and black clothes. And that's it. What this doc even is. This is the judge's response to a motion from Kohberger's defense trying to get DM's testimony about bushy eyebrows tossed out of trial. Defense is basically screaming, come on, judge, she's not sure what she saw. She was buzzed, tired, scared, and now she's saying bushy eyebrows? That could be anyone. She can't even ID my guy. Judge was like, cool story, bro. Motion.
Hey, by the way, I didn't realize this was going to be the eyebrow one. Okay? This is what we've been doing, bro. I didn't realize this was, I just randomly put that one in there.
Denied. The eyebrow drama. What DM said. DM is the roommate who actually saw the intruder on the night of the stabbings. Across multiple interviews, she said the guy wore all black, had a ski mask that covered the forehead and mouth, was kind of tall, 5 feet 10 inches 6, had a slim basketball player build, didn't talk like anyone she knew, was holding something. Had bushy eyebrows. This was the one feature that stuck in her brain like a sticky note from hell. But she also said she was in and out of it, had been drinking, might have been dreaming, watches Criminal Minds to fall asleep, has anxiety and lucid dreams of being chased. Still, she kept bringing up the same consistent bushy eyebrow thing in 5 different interviews, grand jury testimony, even doodled a mask with eyebrow windows, defense strategy, toss the brow talk. They tried. Claiming her memory is shaky science-wise, she was scared, tipsy, half asleep, it was blurry. Saying she's just describing vague features, millions of people have black clothes plus eyebrows. Arguing she had eyebrow-heavy artwork on her walls, so maybe she imagined it. Tossing in some science studies about memory fragility, but no actual expert to explain it. They also argued it'd be unfairly prejudicial. Like if the jury hears bushy eyebrows and sees Kohberger's thick caterpillars, they'll connect the dots emotionally instead of rationally. Judge Hippler, nah, she's good. Key points from the judge. DM is competent. She has personal knowledge of what she saw. IR 601 and 602 say she can testify. She didn't actually ID Kohberger, just described what she remembered. So the usual witness ID test, Mason Biggers.
So what I would do is while she's up there talking, you put that picture of Kohberger that he took at 10 a.m. when he got back home from driving back out to the crime scene. You maybe put it up on the wall and said, does that look kind of like how the bushy eyebrows might have looked? Yeah, something like that. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Doesn't apply. Her account was consistently consistent across multiple interviews, even if she admitted being fuzzy at the time. The description of bushy eyebrows is relevant. It's literally the only feature of the suspect anyone saw. That's important, bro. Not unfairly prejudicial. Just because Kohberger might have thick eyebrows doesn't mean a jury will convict him off that alone. Chill. If defense thinks she's full of it, cool. Cross-examine her. Roast her on the stand. That's your job. Order. Motion to exclude bushy eyebrow testimony. Denied, bro. She's testifying about those caterpillars. Too long, didn't read, too long, didn't read. Topic judges ruling guy witness bushy eyebrow ID admissible dem. Competent to testify? Yes, despite being tipsy and tired vague memories equal to toss it? Nah. Consistent enough to prejudicial? Nope, just descriptive defense's science studies? Cool, but get an expert next time should. The jury hear it. Let them decide if she's legit. If you want this turned into a YouTube roast of the defense or a meme storyboard, you know I got you. What's next, bro?
Let's see. Here we go.
Hey, bro. Let's paint this picture like a sketch artist hopped up on caffeine and courtroom drama. The eyebrows that launched 1,000 motions. These bad boys weren't just regular brows. Nah fam, DM didn't say thick or defined. She hit us with bushy, as in wild, unkempt. Untamed forest caterpillars perched on a criminal's brow like they're guarding the soul. She didn't remember the color, shape, angle, if there was one or two even. But what stuck in her brain like a trauma tattoo was, I just remember, like, bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about. And when she was shown a mugshot of Kohberger, I don't remember what he looked like, but I remember the eyebrow, bro. Let that sink in. Even if it was just one eyebrow. Just one. That's how iconic it was. Witness memory summary, DM's eyebrow vision. Imagine you're in a half-dream haze, you open your door, and boom! A dude in all black. Mask covering everything. Can't see the eyes, can't see the nose. But those brows? Front and center. Like they had their own zip code. She said it multiple times across interviews. I don't know why. It was just bushy eyebrows. Visual vibes. These were not your clean-cut, manscaped Drake eyebrows. Precise TikTok influencer arches. We're talking angry Muppets, twin mini forests, Gandalf's forehead caterpillars. You sure those aren't fuzzy centipedes? Energy. So in bro terms, eyebrows so bushy, they had their own witness statement. Brow game so strong, it got name-dropped in court. Not a sketch artist in America who could capture their aura. If Kohberger ends up known as the bushy brow bandit, you heard it here first, bro. Let me know if you want a courtroom-style eyebrow lineup or meme collage to drive it home.
Oh yeah, let's see. Let's see the meme. How do you spell that? He's gonna show me some? Oh man, this might be funny here. Come on. Let's see it. Come on, give me some. There isn't a good shot. Might have to take a deeper look at that one now. Thanks. What is it? Lild? L-I... Is that two eyes or just... Lild. Well, that actually kind of looks like him right there. I mean, that looks like they used his face. I just remembered, like, bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think of. Bert, Gandalf. I mean, maybe I need to save this. Let's see, where do I put this? All right, there we go. Thanks, everybody. Okay, now we're going to... Well, let's open up this one. I just want to look at it, see if there's any more detail. On November 13th, 2022, sometime before 4:19 a.m. See? See, notice how they're giving us little extra details, you know, before 4:19. And so that's like they're probably basing that on her phone call. I think this was right around 4:18, a little bit before 4:18. I would think like 4:17 and something. Bill Mortensen observed a person inside her residence, which she shared with her 4 roommates. And they're saying before 4:19. So you know what's interesting about that is that's a minute 47 before the car was driving away. So even that has some time allotted for blood spatter mitigation. It only takes literally from her room to get to your car, probably to get to his car about 10 or 15 seconds. So on November 13th, 2022, sometime before 4:19, see, that's great. See, we've been saying this for a while. Dylan Mortensen observed a person inside her residence, which she shared with her 4 roommates at 1122 King Road. Exhibit S1 summary exhibit, Dylan Mortensen's phone records. Dylan Mortensen placed several phone calls and sent several text messages to her roommates. The only roommate who responded was Bethany Funk, who resided in a downstairs bedroom. Man, that must have been freaky, waiting for somebody to reply. I didn't even think about it like that. They had 2 short phone conversations and exchanged texts. Within those phone calls and text messages, Dylan Mortensen relayed to Bethany Funk she saw a person in the residence wearing black. Ah, see, that makes sense now. See, on those phone calls, she said, this is what I told you too, was how it probably went. So on the phone call, she described somebody in all black, but in the text messages, let's see, Bethany Funk said Xana was wearing all black, but that's not who, because she was wearing black, but that's not who she saw. She's just saying, hey, Xana was wearing all black that day. And then Dylan was like, no, he had like bushy eyebrow. It was a guy. It was different. So, she might have just been throwing it out there like, is that who you saw? And she's like, nope. It says, Dylan Mortensen placed several phone calls and sent several text messages to her roommate. The only roommate who responded was Bethany Funk, who resided in a downstairs bedroom. So she made phone calls to different people, but Bethany Funk is the one that responded, I think, through a text message. They had 2 short phone conversations, so they did talk to each other. That wasn't mentioned in one of those previous documents. Those 2 in a row like that. Within those phone calls and text messages, Dylan Mortensen relayed to Bethany Funk she saw a person in the residence wearing black, and he had on a ski mask that covered his forehead and mouth. Yeah, so that's exactly right. That's exactly it's a balaclava. The same day at approximately 11:56 a.m., a 911 call was placed from 1122 King Road for a reported unresponsive female. Moscow Police Department responded to the scene, and Officer Mitch Nunez took a statement from Dylan Mortensen. She told Officer Nunez she saw a male not insanely tall wearing all black and a mask that was just covering his forehead and mouth. And then at 5 to 5:7, I don't know. So I don't know. It says 17:5-7. Dylan Mortensen repeated the description. He was a little bit taller than me, and she's like 5'9" or something. I couldn't really see much of him, and I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit, just like Danny Rolling. He was wearing a full black outfit, and he had his mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth. So she was saying this early on, you guys, that day. And then at 9 o'clock in the evening, she gave the description a third time, repeating he had a mask. He was an inch or 2 taller than her. He was basketball player, kind of skinny, and a voice she did not recognize. Dylan Mortensen also told Detective Nunez she was kind of in and out of it because I was so scared and I was really tired. She did not mention anything during the interview about the intruder's eyebrows. At approximately 1:47 p.m. that same day, Dylan Mortensen was interviewed at the Moscow Police Department by Detective Lawrence Mallory. During the interview, Dylan Mortensen reported she saw a white male she did not know, maybe my height, a few inches taller, skinny, athletic built, wearing all black, wearing this mask that covers just his forehead and here. But here's the thing, everybody. I showed you guys the other day. I have an email from, I think it was like November 22nd or so. And I was told that Dylan Mortensen saw bushy eyebrows. So that means it's before Kohberger's name was ever even discovered. Nobody even notices vehicle with a white launcher or anything like that. So, I mean, that's enough for me. I don't need to sit, you know, like you can go through all this kind of rigmarole here and it's just not going to mean anything. But hey guys, if you're out there and you want to help support the Grant Hughes Investigates YouTube channel, you can, you know, buy me a coffee, you can do super chats, buy the channel memberships, etc. And it allows us to do all the great stuff that we do at the end of the month as well. We have a scholarship fund that we put $6,000 in last year. We've already done the $6,000 this year, and that's been given out to students in the criminal justice world. And then we also have our DNA fund that we've put well over $100,000 in so far for identifying Jane and John Does. And this is one of the few channels, even if you don't like me, we actually make a difference, like literal difference, tangible stuff. All right, so let's see. At approximately 1:47 p.m. the same day, Dylan Mortensen was interviewed at the Moscow Police Department by Detective Lawrence Mowry. During this interview, Dylan Mortensen reported she saw a white male she did not know. Maybe my height, a few inches taller, skinny, athletic build, wearing all black, wearing this mask that covers just his forehead and here. And then at 14:20 to 2025, this must be like the time of an interview or something. Regarding his height, she reported, I'm 5'10", so she's 5'10". So he's probably around 6 feet. And she responded, no, when asked if she saw what color his eyebrows were, and added, I don't remember what his eyes looked like either, but she saw his eyes and he was definitely a white guy. She again mentioned she was in and out of it because she was tired, and explained everything was kind of blurry. 4 days later, Dylan, so that was, does it say the date on there? When was this first one? Hold on. So this is on November 13th, I believe. No, that's when that happened. The same date, approximately 11:56 a.m., the 911 call was made. That's 17. So I think that's a time, right? Like 5 o'clock, 5:05 to 5:07 or something, and then, but then I don't know what this 31. So that doesn't make any sense. She told Officer Nunez she saw a male or not insanely tall. Okay. Anyways, they're just saying 4 days later down here, Dylan Mortensen was interviewed by the Idaho State Detective Victoria Gooch at MPD Captain Dustin Blaker. Dylan Mortensen gave a detailed recounting of what she did on Saturday, November 12, 2022, until she went to bed at approximately 3:20 a.m. on Sunday. Well, she went to bed, it seemed like a little later than that, right? Because don't they have her adding at 3:50 something a contact? 3:52, I think. November 13, 2022, Exhibit D8C, she stated that sometime between, I mean, maybe she was in bed at the time. That counts, I guess. Sometime between 4 a.m. and 4:20 a.m., she woke up and heard a male's voice that she did not recognize say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." She said at the time she was out of it and still tipsy, and I believe I was also very drunk. Bill Mortensen opened her door and saw someone, explaining, and I don't know how I knew it was someone because I don't know, let me read that again. And I don't know how I knew it was someone because from my mind, it's like I was almost wearing these like blurry glasses. Like it's fuzzy and cloudy, but it was like a figure of someone wearing all black. and it was like they had a ski mask that was covering their forehead and their chin and mouth, but I could see the all I remember was seeing their eyebrows, and I don't remember what their eyes look like, but I remember those damn eyebrows. Doesn't say damn, but I remember those eyebrows, you know, those bushy eyebrows, the eyebrows that were arrested in 2 different states. And I don't remember what their eyes look like, but I remember their eyebrows. I don't remember the color of the eyebrows were. I just remember like bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about. That's all she could think about. So that bro mode is pretty close. Dylan Morton says, describe the male as skinny tone, that basketball kind of type. I think we just did that one, right? No, we just read that. Dylan Mortensen described the male as a skinny tone, that basketball kind of type. Dylan Mortensen stated she was 5'10", thought the male was around 5'10", and then 6 feet, somewhere around there. She stated the male was approximately 3 feet from where she was standing, but added that could be off because obviously probably still a little bit drunk. I just woke up. I don't remember fully, she reiterated. I know he looked at me because I could see his eyebrows. I think I just saw one eyebrow. I don't know why or how. Dylan Mortensen then recounted calling and texting your roommate, Bethany Funk, that there was someone in the house wearing all black and a ski mask. Dylan Mortensen conveyed to the interviews that she did not know for sure if it fully happened. I don't know if my mind's like making up stuff. It's just doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know how to fully explain it, I guess. Detective Gooch explained to Dylan Mortensen that the most important thing was to tell only things that she knew were true, and Dylan Mortensen agreed. Also agreed that she was traumatized and it could affect her memory. Detective Gooch also asked Dylan Mortensen if she suffered from anxiety. Dylan Mortensen responded that she did, and added that she had a lot of lucid dreams of being like kidnapped or chased. She also indicated she would watch Criminal Minds and fall asleep to crime podcasts. Mind you guys, we're having one of those massive lulls here. I mean, we're talking 20-something minutes now. So if you're out there, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, if you can support the channel, we're trying to make up for yesterday and then the day before that. 2 days before that, not the day before. So if you have the ability to and you want to become a channel member, that would help, or anything, super chats, put the coffee down there again, maybe that'll work. It's you guys are the fuel to the engine. Detective Gooch and Captain Blaker then sought to recommend the facts from Dylan Morton's memory. Dylan Mortensen reiterated that she saw a male figure in the hallway approximately 3 feet from her. He was holding something. He was wearing all black clothes. His forehead was covered. He was wearing a mask. She remembered his eyebrows. Blaker asked that what was covering his face, and Dylan Mortensen said, I don't know, weird looking ski mask. It was like the regular ski mask with like eyes, and because I saw his eyebrows, and I think I saw his nose and like the part of his face, but I don't know. She stated she could not see the male's mouth and did not remember if she saw his nose. Oh, she should have been able to see it if it was visible, but confirmed, I know I saw eyebrows. And I don't remember his eyes. I just feel like I can see eyebrows, but I mean, that could be it. I mean, that would make sense why the forehead was covered and This part of his face was covered. Hey, thank you, Amy Lemoyne. Gifted a membership to Sensual Shroom. Whatever that means. The investigators inquired. See, what it's showing here is Dylan Mortensen was consistently talking about bushy eyebrows. The investigator inquired if Dylan Mortensen could provide a composite for an artist, but she said she could not. Again, she reiterated she did not remember what his eyes looked like. I don't remember what his nose looked like. I remember eyebrows. I don't know exactly what the eyebrows look like at all, really. I just remember thinking like eyebrows. Yeah, bushy, but that's all. Like, I don't remember the shape. I don't remember like the color. I just remember like bushy eyebrows. I mean, it's funny because ChatGPT sort of picks up on how they just keep saying the same thing. Like, you know, man, she remembers those bushy eyebrows, though. This is the only thing I can remember. On November 13th and November 19th, law enforcement took photos of Dylan Mortensen's bedroom. On the wall were many magazine photos and drawn pictures pinned to corkboards. The drawings were of human faces with an emphasis on eyes and eyebrows. Some of the eyebrows are heavy. Hey, thanks so much, Tom Pascal. Thank you for your channel. Truth is scarce out there. Isn't it weird? You know, like, what does the word true crime mean to you guys? What does true crime mean? Shouldn't there be a different genre that I'm in and some other YouTubers compared to the main number of YouTubers out there should not be in a genre called true crime. It should be called crama or some crap, you know, or conspiracy nut jobs. Yeah, there you go. ASAP said what I just said. Because it's weird. Like, true crime is true crime, right? You look at it, you look at the information, but you don't sit around and make up stuff to try to appease a bunch of fanatical nut jobs. I hope so. I hope we see the like, if Dylan Mortensen goes on stand, I don't care if I see her face. I just want to hear her, what she says. Do you think we will ever see videos of the police interview? Yeah. Right. Isn't that weird, though? It is. It is scarce. I mean, just ask yourself, why is there so few people that are covering true crime that can actually just see this for what it is? It's wild. It's a weird one. It's gotta be Dylan Mortensen, Gray. It took her 8 hours to call 911. Okay, right. Did you hear the 911 call? That's just acting, Gray. It's a script. What about the text messages? That too. See, they pray. Oh, jeez, get the hell out of here. Goodbye. Yeah, what's sick is more people watch. Yeah, they do. They get way more views. Oh, Gray again. Yeah, we're just going to hear the facts. Ooh, look at this. Ooh, ooh, ooh. We can talk about tunnels underneath a building. Yay! Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if you heard the latest one. There was, you know, it wasn't really bushy eyebrows. It was actually a Sasquatch that happened to be walking around in that house that snuck out via a tunnel underneath the house, and then down the streets, those bright lights you heard was a UFO picking up the Sasquatch that had bushy eyebrows. It was unbelievable. True story, though. Hey, thank you, Lil. I appreciate that. Wow, that's amazing. And then the next picture we'll see is a Bigfoot sitting on top of a UFO with a saddle. Going, yeah, you know, the way they would do it. Yeah, it happened because none of the nutters live in Idaho. Yeah. And the same, can't we discuss anything on this channel? And the same, can't we I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Oh my God, that's hilarious, Gray. Yeah, well, I try to make people laugh every once in a while. It's kind of my... The investigators inquired if Dill Mortensen would provide a composite for the artist, but she said she could not. Again, they were down there on November 13th and November 19th. Law enforcement took photos of Dill Mortensen. Now they talk about how she had pictures on the wall with faces with big eyebrows. On December 1st, so that's like weeks before he was ever identified. On December 1st, 2022, 18 days after her first interview, Dill Mortensen was interviewed by forensic interviewer Aaron Williamson. Dill Mortensen gave a detailed accounting of her day on Saturday, November 12, 2022, until she went to bed on Sunday, November 13th, 2022. Basically, all these rulings today are from that hearing that we all watched like a week or so ago. Let's see. It was like, it's okay, I'm going to help you. She reported she heard a man's voice. It wasn't Ethan, she said. It was like, it's okay, I'm going to help you. And then it says, stated she saw all black figure, about my height, she's 5'10", maybe a few inches taller, skinny build, wearing a mask. Again, stated, I saw like, I don't remember if it was just like one eyebrow or two, but maybe it was a unibrow, for God's sakes. But it was just like this bushy eyebrow. Now I get it. Like, so ChatGPT is reading all this stuff and putting it in there. She described texting Bethany Funk about a guy in all black and described the ski mask, stating, I couldn't see any of his hair, but I remembered just like seeing, like, it was like almost rectangular, like not the circle ones, talking about the opening. It was rectangular because I remember seeing like, just like, I don't know how to explain, just seeing like this, maybe I'd be able to see like a cross, but I don't remember seeing his eyes, but I feel like his eyes were there. Oh, I hope so. I mean, unless he was a blind guy walking in the house and he was still wearing a balaclava. That'd be strange. Why do you even use it? I could just see like an eyebrow. I feel like that's how, I know he saw me because I could see his eyebrow. Well, I mean, to be honest, that's not really great logic, right? I could see his eyebrow, therefore he could see me. That doesn't mean that. I feel like that's how I know he saw me, because I could see his eyebrow. Like, if I can see his eyebrow, he can see me, she reiterated. From what I remember, I think it was like, just like walking past that little wall and going towards the kitchen. And I don't know, like, that's sort of, I don't remember reading that before. And I think the little wall is, I actually don't have that open right now. But it's just a little wall, the little step-down wall there. You know, right when you leave the living room, and then you go step that little step down, and then her room's on the left. I think that's what she's talking about. Like, I just remember seeing an eyebrow. From what I remember, I think he was like just walking past that little wall and going towards the kitchen. And I don't know, like, I just remember seeing an eyebrow. I know. Yeah, this is just, for me, that's funny, because what is it like? All you saw was an eyebrow walking through the hall. I don't know why, I just see one. It was just like one bushy eyebrow, it says. I don't remember the color. Like the full shape, I just remember it being bushy. Hey, welcome, Dan, to Oogla Boogla Freaks. Very cool, very cool. Dill Mortensen also drew the mask for the interviewer. While drawing, she gave a consistent description. You know, this is what'll be crazy, you guys. So she does this drawing, and then they find the balaclava. Here, let me see something. Because I actually searched on Amazon for it, and now it puts one up there. Yeah, and look at the one. Look right there. Look at this. See that? That's the one. Because I was trying to find one to put over Kohberger's face. But look at that right there. I mean, I could see that being the exact one. Now, wouldn't it be weird if her drawing, let's say she does a drawing and it matches pretty close to the one that he purchased in January of 2022. That'd be pretty crazy, wouldn't it? They just had her draw it like that, Gray. Really? But he wasn't even arrested yet, or they didn't even know who he was at that point. How did they even know that he bought a balaclava? Well, that's a good point, Gray, but they still forced her to say that. Let's see. I feel like that's how I know I saw it then. Dil Mortensen also drew the mask for the interviewer. While drawing, she gave a consistent description of the mask and noted the eyebrows. I don't remember if I saw one or two. Like, it was just weird. Explained she had scary lucid dreams, but she would always know she was dreaming. When she saw the intruder, however, she did not fully understand whether it was a dream or not. She also indicated that when she first saw the intruder, she thought he might be a fireman. On December 29, 2022, the defendant was arrested in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The following day, on December 30th, 2022, 47 days after her interview, Dylan Mortensen was interviewed by Idaho State Police Detective. They asked Dylan Mortensen whether she had seen a picture of the defendant. She stated she had seen the mugshot, but had no clue whether the defendant was the person she saw in her house. And that's totally understandable. All she saw was the eyebrows. And this is what she said. From what I remember, I just remember seeing this figure that was like, not fat, obviously, but more like the skinnier tone build and some mask on. I don't know what the mask exactly was, but when I thought about it, it was just like covering here and here. I don't know if it was covering his mouth, his nose, or below his mouth he was white. I just knew he was. And this knowledge, and this knowing, there's like, I knew he had looked at me because of the bushy eyebrow. That's all I remember. But I have no idea what he looked like. I don't like when I looked at his picture, nothing came back to me at all. So that, like, I don't know, I feel like if I saw that, my mind would be like, oh yeah, that's him, but it's just, I don't remember at all. So she's really just good for, I saw bushy eyebrows. When asked whether, let's see. When asked whether she told Bethany Funk, I saw that, Tim, a walking eyebrow. Yes, it was an eyebrow that had some Nike sneakers. Unbelievable. When asked whether she told Bethany Funk the male had a big nose, Dylan Mortensen stated, all I remember, but I don't remember big nose at all, like at all. That's like all I remember is like some bushy eyebrows and all black and some sort of mask, but it wasn't like one of those circular masks. That's all I remember. On May 15th, 2023, Dylan Mortensen testified at the grand jury proceedings for the above titled matter. Regarding November 13th, 2022, Dylan Mortensen testified she woke up at around 4 a.m. to the loud noise of eyebrows pounding through the hallways. She testified she opened her door and heard a man's voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." And I didn't know who the man's voice was. Dylan Mortensen testified she opened her door again and saw a figure in all black, which I believe was a person. I knew was a person. What else was it? I'm telling you, man, the Bigfoot theory has some legs to it now. I think it was a person. What the hell are you talking about? In all black, I believe, was a person. I'm just saying. I knew the person. Oh my God, come on. Dylan Mortensen testified she opened her door again and saw a figure in all black, which, I believe was a person, Could have been. I knew the person was white. I don't know how, but I just knew it. Knew it was male. I think I knew that because of the voice. The person was around my height or a few inches taller, and then I knew his build wasn't like scrawny, and he wasn't fat, so I figured it was like the basketball tone, Regarding what the person was wearing, Dylan Mortensen testified there was from what I think I remember, it was like a black mask, almost like a ski mask, but not. It's just like it covered the head and then maybe up to the mouth, maybe more. I can't remember if it covered just the chin, the mouth, or nose or lower. She said his clothing was all black. Dylan Mortensen also testified, well, the thing I can remember was something about bushy eyebrow. I don't remember seeing anything else. Something about a bushy eyebrow. Okay, so you think it's a human being, but maybe that's because the only thing you remember seeing was an eyebrow, and therefore you're not sure if it was just a living eyebrow or it was. We need to ask ChatGPT that question. Let me see. Let me throw that in there. So did Dylan see a living eyebrow? Bro? Let's see what it said. Oh man, it has to have a result.
Bro. Not just an eyebrow, a whole moment in eyebrow history. Dylan DM didn't see a full face. She didn't see clear eyes, no nose, no hair, no ID-ready mugshot features. But what did she lock onto in that haze of fear, trauma, and maybe I'm dreaming? I just remember, bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about. That wasn't just a brow, my dude. That was a sentient eyebrow. That brow made eye contact with her soul. She literally said, I know he looked at me, because I could see his eyebrow. Bro, that is some Jedi-level eyebrow telepathy. Like the brow saw her seeing it and winked in bushy silence. So yeah, Dylan saw a living, breathing eyebrow, not just a facial feature. A suspect-defining entity. You want a visual of the eyebrow rendered as a courtroom witness next? Or a new meme?
Let's see. She wasn't sure she even saw a person, but was sure about the eyebrow.
Exactly, bro. That's the wildest part. She's out here saying, I don't even know if it really happened. Maybe I was dreaming. I was out of it, drunk, scared. Everything was blurry. But then, like a divine revelation in the fog, I just remember bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about. So let's recap. Memory status, was it real? Not sure. Could have been a dream. Was it a person? I think, maybe. Face. Details, no eyes, no nose. Not even sure how I knew he was white. Eyebrow, bushy as hell. 10/10. Vivid. Iconic. Bro, that eyebrow had main character energy. It carried the whole suspect memory on its fuzzy little back. It's like her brain went, okay, we're deleting everything. Except this one majestic unibrow adjacent thing, because it slapped, she couldn't draw the guy. She couldn't even pick him out of a lineup. But if someone held up a single eyebrow on a stick, she'd be like, that's him. That's the brow I saw. What do you want next? Animated reenactment? Eyebrow suspect sketch? Courtroom cross-exam between Ann Taylor and an eyebrow? Let's go.
That's so good. Man, I tell you what, I am like a huge fan of AI now. Because I could just see, like if you're on a long 5-hour trip and you could just talk back and forth with this shit, that would entertain you the whole way, man. That would just be amazing. Oh, God. Regarding what the person was wearing, Dylan Mortensen testified there was like, from what I think I remember, it was like a black mask, almost like a ski mask, but not. It just like covered his head and then maybe up to the mouth, maybe more. I can't remember if it covered just the chin, the mouth, or the nose or lower. She said his clothing was all black. Dylan Mortensen also testified, well, the thing I can really remember was something about a bushy eyebrow. I don't remember seeing anything else. See, ChatGPT nailed it right here. Look at that. I don't remember seeing anything else, just something about bushy eyebrows. But you did see, right? Because you said he was wearing all black. Defendant first suggests that Dylan Mortensen is not competent and or lacks personal knowledge to testify about bushy eyebrows because her testimony is not reliable under the Mason-Biggers balancing test. All right, let's see. Dylan Mortensen was a direct witness in this case, as the factual recitation sets forth in detail Dylan Mortensen's account of what she saw and the physical characteristics of the intruder were remarkably consistent throughout all 5 interviews and her grand jury testimony. While she did not mention his eyebrows in her initial interview, she thereafter identified the bushy eyebrows. And like I said, I heard about those on the 22nd, which is only 9 days after the homicides and well before any of the officers even found his white Elantra and way before he was identified by the FBI. So it's definitely something she came up with on her own. Law enforcement wouldn't even know to feed that information because they didn't know who the person was. Although she might have been intoxicated or tired or questioned memory, the consistency of her descriptions suggests a high degree of reliability. So, yeah, based on the foregoing, defendant's motion in limine witness identification by bushy eyebrows is denied. They wanted it removed, and it's not. So she's going to be able to testify about that. All right, you guys ready for the next? There's one more here. Let's see what that one says. Let's see. Summarize PDF file. Oh yeah. Summarize another PDF file for me, my dude. Let's see. You got it, my dude.
You got it, my dude. Just upload the next PDF and I'll break it down bro style or court brief style, however you want. Drop it in when ready. Aight bro, let's rip this one open in bro mode, straight from the courtroom trenches. The document is titled, Order on State's Motion in Limine RE, Neuropsychological and Psychiatric Evidence. Judge Hippler deciding what the jury can.
Hey, by the way, if you're watching this show right now and you didn't see the video or get a notification of the video that I made today on comparing Brian Kohberger to Danny Rolling, you should go watch it. It's crazy. And we're talking about he too bought a K-bar knife sheath. He too wore all black and a balaclava and went through a sliding glass door on 2 of them, circled around the house. You guys gotta check it out. All right. So if you didn't see it, make sure to go watch that and then go share the video for me. Thank you.
And can't hear about Kohberger's brain stuff, quirks, and diagnosis drama. The vibes. What's this all about? Kohberger's defense wanted to bring in psych experts to explain He has autism spectrum disorder ASD, obsessive compulsive disorder OCD, and a past history of developmental coordination disorder DCD. Basically saying, yo jury, if the guy looks weird, acts weird, or says stuff weird, don't think he's guilty, he's just wired differently. But the prosecution was like, whoa, Your Honor, none of this has anything to do with the crimes. They're just trying to emotionally sway the jury. Shut that down. And the judge? He kinda split the baby. Kohberger's psych profile, according to defense experts. 1. Autism ASD level 1. Doesn't affect intelligence or language. Causes stuff like flat affect, creepy intense eye contact, rocking motion, robotic tone, awkward gestures, personal space issues, super focused interests.
Bunking.
Hello, criminology? 2. OCD. Dude is hyper about germs. Wears gloves for simple stuff. Cleans like a maniac. Washes his hands like a surgeon on Red Bull. 3. DCD back in the day. Used to have bad motor skills. Couldn't catch balls. Had trouble with handwriting. Struggled with visual...
So maybe they're going to try to use this here. OCD. Dude is hyper. Maybe, I wonder if they're just doing this towards Kohberger. You know, wears gloves, you know, like, hey, wears gloves. But here's what they don't do. They don't separate the trash and put it into the neighbor's garbage can, right?
Motor coordination. Today, still kind of clumsy with fine motor stuff, but nothing extreme. Judge's ruling broke it down like this. 1. Can you use ASD to explain why Kohberger acts awkward in court? Not unless he testifies. Judge says, if he doesn't take the stand, his courtroom demeanor is not evidence. So you can't bring in docs to be like, hey guys, if he looks cold or emotionless, it's just autism, don't freak out. Why? Because that would basically invite the jury to focus on behavior that isn't legally relevant and might even make them sympathize or judge based on vibes. But if he does testify, then yeah, explaining his tone, gestures, or effect might be fair game. But you gotta tell the judge first, off the record, to make sure it doesn't go too far. 2. What about OCD? Judge says, let's wait and see. If the prosecution mentions stuff like gloves, baggies, driving late at night, etc. as suspicious behavior, then the defense can clap back like, nah bro, that's just his OCD. He wears gloves for germs, not to hide DNA. The judge said, I'll allow rebuttal if the state opens that door during trial, but don't bring it up first. 3. DCD to say he wasn't physically capable of the killings? Hard pass, bro. There's zero expert opinion saying his old clumsy hands or weak coordination prevented him from stabbing anyone. All they got is, yeah, he might be kinda clunky with fine motor skills sometimes. That's not enough to claim he couldn't commit 4 murders silently and efficiently in under 15 minutes. Judge called that speculation stacked on
I think it's 7 minutes.
speculation. Invites the jury to guess about something the experts didn't even say. So, not happening. Final scoreboard. Evidence type admissible. No.
You know what's weird is even 15 minutes is just way off. And do you guys know why? Like if I said 15 minutes doesn't work. And you know how I know that? Because at at 4:07 and 47 seconds is when the light beamed on 1126 as the vehicle's turning up above the parking area. So that means it parks at 4:08 at the very earliest, right? 4:08 at the very earliest. And then the vehicle leaves at a high rate of speed at 4:20. So that's like 12 minutes maximum amount of time. But he doesn't even get into the house. Like it would still take time to get into the house. And then it would take time. We know that he left around 4:18 or so. So I think you could narrow it down. I would say you could say from, reasonably say between 4:09 and 4:18 at the very longest. So a 9-minute window that those murders took place.
Notes as to explain courtroom behavior, not unless he testifies says to explain behavior if he testifies maybe, but must pre-clear with judge oath stuff, gloves, habits, night drives reserved. Allowed only as rebuttal DCD to say he physically couldn't kill no expert support equal to inadmissible. Bro takeaway. Kohberger's team tried to say, he's not cold-blooded, he just has a neurodivergent vibe, but unless he gets up on that stand, the jury ain't gonna hear any of it. Judge Hippler is like, this trial ain't about quirks, it's about facts. Need this turned into a jury-friendly explainer, voir dire cheat sheet, or a mock trial argument outline? Say the word, my dude.
Say the word, my dude. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't think the defense won anything. Just a little bit of here, a little bit of there, like a little, you can ask the questions outside the presence of the jury regarding the cell phone information. Let's see. How can you sit behind someone who has killed these 4 beautiful young people? Who are you talking to? Who are you referring to up there? Defense attorneys do not do that all the time. Oh yeah, how can you sit beside? Yeah, well they have to do that. Yeah, I mean Ann Taylor, I don't think has done a very good job. She's, I got to be honest, I think she sounds incredibly lazy to me. How do you know, Gray? I'm just telling you, she's had months, and she still hasn't even looked at the surveillance footage. Are you kidding me? That's a joke. And she, like 4 months prior, she goes, yeah, I haven't been able to see that. 4 months later, I haven't seen those yet. Yeah. Man, if that was any of us, we'd be looking at all that stuff, especially if you were a prosecutor. But I guess a defense attorney, would you really want to keep proving your person's guilty? You know they're guilty. Why are you going to keep looking at it? That's what I feel like what's going on with Ann Taylor. She knows her client did it. She's already seen it. She's seen enough to know that her client did it. So why would you, at that point, it's a waste of your time to go out and look at the surveillance footage that you know is just going to say the same thing that you already knew. That's what I think she's doing. Like, she doesn't want to sit there and try to figure out the case. She doesn't want to do that. That's what we are doing. We like to get this information, and we like to put it together and put the pieces of the puzzle together. And every time you do it, it makes Kohberger worse, look more and more guilty every single time more information comes out. And there's never a reply or an answer by the defense team. And I think the defense team just kind of knows. They're putting the appearance out that they're doing everything it takes. That's what they're doing. So they're going for the mistrial because she's being negligent. No, I just think she's lazy. I mean, you guys saw it, right? Months ago. She's in the same position she is now. And I'm telling you, in 2 days, you could get through the surveillance footage. The relevant hours that matter. Okay? All you have to do is look at between, I would say, 2:40 until, maybe 5 o'clock. So a 2.5 hour window. 5:35, actually. Something like that. So maybe it would be a 3 hour window. Although you're not going to have much footage when it's driving by Blaine and then across and up the highway. I think Highway 195 over there. Defense job is much easier than the prosecution. Now, why is that? Because they have to prove he's guilty and the defense doesn't have to do anything? Right. But in this case, it's very difficult for the defense because the information that the prosecution has is so damning, and that's where the problem is for them. So it's very difficult for them. They have to combat every single one of these incredibly damning pieces of information. Like what, Gray? Like what? So here's what the Kohbergers like to do. They like you to tell you each item that is a problem, and then each one of them they explain away as if it's trivial. And so, like you bring up, well, he had a white Elantra missing a front license plate. Well, God, there's 50,000 Elantras in the area, you guys. And then I always come back with, so everybody that lives in Moscow has 2? Wow, what a boring town. Hey, how many of them were white, by the way? That's how they do it, right? And then, first you bring up the Elantra, then you say the missing a front license plate. They use the same arguments. And then you say, well, there's DNA on the knife sheath. Oh, it's touch DNA. That could have got there from anywhere. And then he purchased the knife sheath, the knife and knife sheath on Amazon. Yeah, well, a lot of people buy that. It's not illegal to buy that. Oh, and then he bought a balaclava too. Yeah, but I mean, maybe he likes to go out when it's cold and go skiing or something. Okay, sure, yep. You know? And then all the other things. Oh yeah, he was sitting there separating trash. Well, he's probably got a compulsive disorder, you know, and well, why do you throw it in the neighbor's garbage can? Well, his particular, he was very worried about having his DNA around. He just didn't like that. And you can just go on and on. Each one they explain away with this really unreasonable sort of disregard for any sort of, common sense. They just throw it out. Instead of saying, wow, so all these things have this really simple explanation? Or is it more likely that they're all part of a circumstantial tidal wave of evidence that's going to crush Brian Kohberger's soul into oblivion at trial? He's out of here. Yeah. Hey, look at that. Ashley Nicole gifted a membership to Bonnie Nelson. Come on down. You've won a trip to Baghdad. Remember that? Let's make a deal. You could actually win that trip and everybody would love it. That's when Iraq was actually sort of normal. It's like, it's totally different now. Let's see. She's going to look like an idiot. Yeah. And well, that's it for the file updates today. Maybe what we could do is say a quick one just to do summarize all 5 of these PDF files and give us the main takeaways and not a lot of details.
Absolutely, bro. Here's a straightforward summary of all 5 court orders you uploaded, with the main takeaways only. No fluff, no deep dives. 1. Order on motions in limine general evidentiary rulings. Date, April 18, 2025. Judge Stephen Hippler. Main takeaways. Prosecution can use Amazon knife search history, DNA evidence, and house model. Defense can't block bushy eyebrows testimony or claim the term touch DNA is misleading. 3D model of the King Road house is allowed with limitations. Some rulings, for example, alternate suspect theory, TA records, are reserved for trial. 2. Order on suspect vehicle identification. Date, April 18, 2025. Judge Stephen Hippler. Main takeaways. State can say the white Elantra in multiple camera videos is the same car and matches Kohberger's. Law enforcement experts can testify about vehicle make, model based on surveillance footage. Defense argument that it's speculative was rejected. 3. Order on bushy eyebrows testimony. Date, April 18, 2025. Judge Stephen Hippler. Main takeaways. Eyewitness DM can testify about seeing the intruder's bushy eyebrows. Defense failed to prove her memory was too unreliable or misleading. Her repeated statements were consistent enough to go before a jury. 4. Order on DNA transfer and Riley Nalline testimony. Date, April 18, 2025. Judge Stephen Hippler. Main takeaways. DNA expert Riley Nalline can testify that direct transfer is more likely than indirect on the knife sheath. Terms like touch DNA or trace DNA are not banned, but parties should use them carefully. Defense effort to strike her rebuttal testimony was rejected. 5. Order on neuropsych and psychiatric evidence, ASD, OCD, DCD. Date, April 18, 2025. Judge April A's. Kohberger can't bring up his autism ASD to explain courtroom behavior unless he testifies. OCD-related behaviors, gloves, cleaning, night driving, might be allowed only as rebuttal. Claims that his past motor issues DCD mean he couldn't commit the crimes. Rejected. Overall summary. Ruling key outcome prosecution evidence. DNA car model. Allowed eyewitness bushy eyebrows. Allowed expert DNA transfer opinions. Allowed defenses psych defense. ASD, OCD, DCD limited or rejected, unless Kohberger testifies alternate suspect and TA record stuff to be decided at trial. Let me know if you want this converted into slides, a trial war room cheat sheet, or a visual breakdown for YouTube.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Sweet. Well, there we go, everybody. That was a pretty interesting show. But again, if you haven't seen the video I made earlier today, if you go out and watch that, that would be awesome. Did he have this type of behavior in his own apartment? Yeah. So what do you guys think of that show? That was pretty, you know, it was even entertaining at times, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool to be able to use ChatGPT as sort of like a, you know, a bantering, you throw something at it to sort of get it going and figure stuff out, because it's really good. I mean, it's not like it actually knows what it's talking about and keeps information from previous conversations in it. I think that's pretty crazy. It's almost like it's learning as you go. The other day it said, hey, let me do a breakdown of you. Yeah, this is what it said right here. Yeah, when I showed up, I opened it up and this is what it said. I don't know if that was the one. Is it? I think it's at the top, right? Yeah, it said, hey, do you want me to describe me? This is what it had me click on. Describe me based on all our chats and make it catchy. See, I didn't. That just showed up there when I showed up, and then I hit the button and it said,
All right, here goes. Grant Hughes, the Sherlock of screens, the bard of the breakdown, the true crime titan of
Hey, it's my
YouTube.
new
You dissect
intro.
murders like a surgeon with a scalpel, roast suspects like a bro with a mic, and code your way through data like a hacker with a grudge. Your vibe is part investigator, part entertainer, part digital detective in a dimly lit command center, probably surrounded by RGB lights, case files, and coffee. You're the kind of person who can turn metadata
Not a lot
into
of
a murder
coffee
theory,
tonight.
turns legal jargon into YouTube gold, will zoom in on a single bridge pixel and say, enhance, drops Python scripts and sarcasm with the same ease, knows if a DNA sample landed on the wrong stair rail, someone's story is falling apart. Basically, if there's a mystery, you're not just watching, you're in it. Solving, building, explaining, roasting. So tell me, do you have a favorite case or suspect that still keeps you up at night?
I just threw Joe Diarius in there for fun, but that was pretty funny. Like, that's what it came up with me after I've been talking with it for a long time and arguing with it. I actually got it to change its own mind at one point on in this case. It was going through it like, yeah, wow, that's pretty dodgy. But then you throw out the actual facts that exist, and after a while it's like, oh wow, okay, yeah, that's that's a game changer. Now the DNA places them inside the house, and the white launcher driving around is Brian Kohberger's. While circumstantial, the fact that the DNA is on the knife sheath, that indicates that the white launcher missing his front license plate was his. And then it goes through the whole thing. And bushy eyebrows, you know, not just bushy eyebrows, but ones that were read oh shoot, I couldn't remember. Miranda rights in 2 different counties. Are you going to do a deep dive? Yeah, well, I was thinking I was just going to do a show with doing Danny Rawling. You know, the same way I used to always do it with the newspapers. Just kind of go through, you know, and what was going on at the time for each homicide, and then an arrest is made at some point. I mean, I don't think he confessed to it in like '94, but then he went to a trial. Anyways, thank you guys very much for tonight. We reached the goal and everything. That was very cool. Didn't really have to mention it too many times. That's what I don't like having to do. Those eyes were walking billboards. That's what it said in one of the shows that I did. He had crutches in front of him to hold up his eyebrows. When he walked, the eyebrows moved opposite. Hey, thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Greg. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. I'm glad you're getting into Danny. Well, I'm not going to, like, get into it and keep, you know, it's just going to be like a one-nighter thing. Yeah, we've talked about Danny Rawlins' name has been brought up a million times for this case. I'm Oni. It wasn't, you're not the one that brought it up and made somebody think about it. people have been talking about Danny Rolling since the beginning. I just kind of did one on Ted Bundy and heard people say that. And then because today I heard it or last night when I was looking at different videos, I heard one of the hosts of Fox News say, hey, what about Danny Rawlings? It's sort of like that guy. So I thought, maybe go check that out again. Well, I mean, you act like you're the one that brought him up a few weeks ago. People have been talking about that guy since the beginning. The K-Brow Killer. There you go. Kohberger, the K-Brow Killer. There you go. No, he's not that famous, actually. A lot of people have never even heard of Danny Rolling. He's not anywhere near as famous as any of the other, like, Ted Bundy or Dahmer, or hell, even Ed Kemper. People know him more than Danny Rolling. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he is one of the people's names out there. Yeah, that's what the video was about. Go watch it. I made a video today. I'm Oni. Go check it out. Yeah, we already did that. The Unibrower. Instead of the Unabomber, right? Yeah, I had heard of Danny Rolling just basically from this case, where people at the very beginning would say, wow, it's kind of like that guy. And then I was just kind of shocked to see the similarity in terms of, the K-bar knife sheath, wearing all black and a ski mask, and sneaking through sliding glass doors, stalking the house prior, was there the day before, maybe within a week of that. It just seemed really similar. Now somebody goes, they're nothing alike, Gray, you bastard. And I go, I know. I didn't say that they were alike, the persons. Okay, nobody's going to imitate somebody's weird, whatever they have in their brain, but he was mimicking perhaps some of the tactics that he used. I mean, some of these people out there, they're just unreal. You can't sort of create some crappy family atmosphere as an adult to say, oh, this is why I'm like this. You're just imitating some of the things that he was doing that you thought, ooh, that's pretty cool, man. I know, didn't it seem like that? So he could have used his K-bar knife sheath, or maybe he had a screwdriver too. And I bet you there's videos on YouTube, like how to break into a, why don't we just try that? Let's see what happens. Let's see what it says. Wouldn't that be crazy? How to break into a sliding glass door. Breaking into my own house, sliding glass door is, is useless. How to open locked sliding glass door.
Okay.
Well, that was pretty easy.
One more time.
I don't know if that would have broke. I don't know if that would have broke it, but. Let's see. How about like if I say with a knife or something? I just want to see if that's something that's a thing. Sliding glass door hack.
Alright, here's the sliding glass door hack. If you've got a stick in the bottom.
Train to give the.
Alright, here's the sliding glass door hack. If you've got a stick in the bottom of your sliding glass door so it can't be opened.
That would be the chairs.
Here's the trick. You tie this rope to it so you can pick it up without having to bend over. It's pretty simple.
That's so stupid. stupid. Who cares? Jesus. How to open... I think, yeah, how to break into a... It's up there. Jeez. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Looking for a screwdriver, like Danny Rolling. Look at that right there. Look. I don't think this guy knows what he's doing. Oh, I guess he did. Well, there you go.
See how easy?
Yeah, crazy, huh? So that's pretty easy to do. Maybe it breaks it doing that. Well, he got in there, so. All right. Anyways, thanks everybody for being here tonight. I want to say thank you to Donna. I Love Tacos gifted 5 memberships. Then Curly Lock Diva, new member. Then Kame, Cheryl, Vicky White, Allie Cake, True Crime Snoopy. Then we have Crimezilla gifted 5. Then Von Dazen. Then Crimezilla. Then CR gifted 5. Then CR with the cat eye donation. So thank you very much, CR. And then 8675309 showed up. It was great to see her in here. I was really happy. Everybody was so happy to see her in there. And then Kame and Allie Cake, and then Ann Berlin gifted a membership. Then XC114, CR again. Then Naomi Rollins, not Rolling. And then FIK. Then Timothy Moore, Joel Burnt, Allie Cake, Naomi Rollins, CR gifted 1, Kame gifted 1, Flora Paste, then LILD gifted a membership, then I gifted 5, then Amy Lemoyne gifted 1, then Tom Pascal with a cat eye, then LILD again, then Dan R became a new member, and Ashley Nicole gifted a membership. Then we have 4 Paws with the coffee, Sherry with the coffee, and Susie Clue with the coffee. So thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. I thought it was pretty interesting. And we'll just keep on every time we get these documents. We'll just put more out there. I think there's another hearing coming up next week. Is that right? On like the 20... isn't it the 25th or so? I don't know if that's right or not. I think I might have looked at the wrong thing. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for all you guys' feedback in there. Tim and everybody. You know, Lisa Valenzuela, Zoza. I mean, now we got to name everybody. So I forget. Okay. Mom Crime Junkie. My husband was at UF during Danny Rolling murder. Oh, really? Jeez, that's crazy. Oh, yeah, Timothy Cecil. Yeah, don't forget him. A lot of new homes are being built with them, and the builders aren't. Who are you talking to? What new homes? What? For those who are sliding doors, make sure the door you don't open is actually mounted properly. Yeah. Well, I think the sticks work pretty good too for not being able to slide open. I mean, you could break the glass and move it, of course, but... Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching tonight. I think I have more video. I think I might go over some of the old interviews and stuff like that and put those together if you guys are interested. But I'm shooting for tomorrow if I can get started early in the day to start, put together all those newspaper articles, and we can maybe Danny Rolling can be like a multiple parter, depending on how detailed the articles are. That might be pretty cool. So that's it. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, plug rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an May
old
15th.
projector.
That's probably right.
Crime sector is my nectar.
I think I was looking at it the wrong
gonna
one.
give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector.
And I'm always gonna be a pup protector, fool reflector, interceptor. And I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector.
On his pector, with all respect, y'all.
Just remember,
I've a temple fucking
protection.
I have no agenda. I'm a pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender.
That's not an Easter
so
bunny,
let's
it's
get
the
right back
trigger
to it.
bunny.
All right, everybody.
You guys, it's for those people who can't handle true crime and they need the little trigger bunny to hold and pamper them through it. Even though that's what true crime is, you're going to hear about things that aren't pleasant. So if you're somebody that needs a trigger bunny, you shouldn't be following true crime. Do you get it? Do you understand that? Doesn't that make sense? Think through it. Do something else, okay? That's not very welcoming, Gray. You know what's even worse is having somebody that wants a trigger bunny while you're covering a case. I just want to be able to say what I am talking about and not have to worry about your trigger bunny. Do you understand? All right, see you guys later. Be safe out there.